just say we are overdue for this to happen. I have a big announcement with TBWZ widescreen radio. It is time. Slade, you have been officially named a moderator on TBWZ. Congratulations, brother. You now have a job. You are forced to do things now. You have a responsibility to this show and to this program. Thank you so much for tuning in as much as you do, Slade. I figured it was about time for you to be named a moderator. There are many times when I check who's in, and it is just my boy. So, with that being said, Slade, congratulations. Welcome officially to the moderator team of Take Back with Zach. We have an action-packed day. Yes, of course, brother. We have an action-packed day of sports news. Obviously, the NFL started last night with an absolute bang. Did I watch the game? No, I was working. Yes, I was working and slaving away as hard as I possibly can to get steaks and bread on people's tables as quickly as possible. My job is stealing a part of my soul. It is requiring so much work and so much effort to work this job that is so hard and so difficult. And I'm complaining. Yet I'm so gracious and thankful for the opportunity. Things are going right now, bro. We're at a fork in the road, bro. And what direction are you going to turn when there is a fork in the road? I turn personally to my faith into the Lord in Jesus, and of course, to football. Carson Beck looked really good from the highlights that I saw last night. It was actually a banger of a football game. Low-key, I was like, I'm not mad. I'm missing the Hall of Fame game. And then my phone's blowing up in my group chat. And I'm like, oh, this is actually a good game. And then I'm like, what am I doing, dude? So I made a point. I talked to my boss, and I was like, brother, hey, we got to talk about something. NFL officially starts. First Sunday is going to be September 13th. I need Sundays off. So, yes, I'll be locked in with you guys on Sundays, hanging out, watching ball, having a good time. Are we going to do some live shows? Maybe. I think a good slot for us to do maybe a little bit of a live programming would be when the afternoon games are wrapping up and right before the Sunday night football game. We could do a little bit of a deep dive and discussion to what we saw that day. If you guys would be interested in potentially doing some Sunday streams, maybe we'll try it out. Maybe we won't. Either way, we're going to have a great time doing so. Let's get going on today's show. Today is Friday, August 7th, and this is Take Back with Zach. Today we are going to be talking about the biggest story in sports right now, which is the Kawhi Leonard Clippers salary cap circumnavigation extravaganza. Pablo Torre dropped a bombshell episode, the 13th installment of this Kawhi Leonard Clippers Steve Ballmer aspiration, yada, 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 salary cap circumnavigation extravaganza. That's what I'm calling it. It's very difficult to say. Salary cap circumnavigation extravaganza. Say it 5 times fast. It's the biggest story in sports right now. And the NBA has been sitting on this for literal months. Originally, this is all about circumnavigation with utilizing this company called Aspiration. We're going to do a little bit of a deep dive into the history of this entire story once we get going into today's show. But a second company has hit the towers. We are now essentially given proof by Pablo Torre through sources that he has found, anonymous sources high up in the Clippers organization, in the Intuit organization, and of course into the Daktronics company, the company that built the Jumbotron in the Intuit Dome, the $100 million Jumbotron. That is the state-of-the-art, maybe the greatest Jumbotron in the history of civilization. Many are saying it. I've never seen it with my own eyeballs, but everyone I've talked to that has seen that Jumbotron say it's the biggest thing, the best thing they've ever seen in their lives. It has become pretty clear to the reporting from Pablo Torre and Hunter Brook Media and everyone over at The Athletic and Meadowlark Media that Daktronics also had a Fugazi side deal with Kawhi Leonard that paid him multi-million dollars to do nothing for their company. We're going to jump into that. We are also going to be talking about the Vikings quarterback situation. From reports around camp, it is believed that Kyler Murray is going to be named the starter for the Minnesota Vikings. Is that the right decision, though? Given the fact that you have a 2027 quarterback class that many are already calling, saying the wrong words. Given the fact they have a 2027 quarterback class that many people are already believing to be an unbelievable one, and you have a guy like J.J. McCarthy who we really haven't ever truly seen given the reins of this team. He got hurt last year. He got hurt the year before. There's been situations with J.J. McCarthy where he's looked good. There's been times where he's looked really bad. But it looks like the Vikings are going towards Kyler Murray. We're also going to be talking about the 49ers injury situation going on with that electrical substation and everything going on with the Niners. It feels like every single player on that team is just dropping like flies. What is happening over there? Speaking of what is happening, Enes Kanter Freedom, former NBA player turned political activist, has officially declared for the 2027 WNBA draft. Got to figure out what that's all about. We have the direct video from Enes Kanter, so we're going to go into X to figure out some more on that story. And, of course, I've been locked in on Trisha Thompson's 30 for 30 podcast series on the Shohei Ohtani gambling scandal. I have listened to every episode so far. I have listened with intent. I have taken notes, mental and physical. I'm locked in on this story. And the other day, she dropped an episode with Matt Boyer, the bookie involved in this whole scandal with Ipe Mizuhara and Shohei Ohtani. The numbers, the metrics are staggering. We'll get into that, like I said, later in the show, but a little bit of a tease for you there. Ipe Mizuhara and the Dodgers reported that he paid $4.5 million to Matt Boyer. Essentially, Shohei Ohtani paid that to Matt Boyer. And when asked about that figure, Matt Boyer said plainly, no, not even close. He paid me $17 million and still owed $24 million. What Ipe Mizuhara and the Dodgers said was $4.5 million. In actuality, it was much closer to $40 million. Can't wait to discuss that and the incredible sports journalism going on around the world, especially with Stephen A. Smith and Mike Wilbon having a journalism war live on ESPN. And it just got my brain rolling and thinking about sports journalism and where we're at today, with the Pablo Torre story being unbelievable, the reporting from Trisha Thompson being so sound and so good, and yet you've got Michael Wilbon and Stephen A. Smith arguing about whether Stephen A. is a journalist. You have Pat McAfee on ESPN interviewing Aaron Rodgers, allowing him to spew hate about Anthony Fauci. Whatever you think about him, I don't know, but ESPN doesn't seem like the platform to do that. He's also hating on Mike Vrabel, an NFL head coach, directly to his face on ESPN, a partner network with the NFL. And I realized, what journalism has ESPN done? In the past 5 years, ESPN is no longer a journalistic branch. It's no longer about discovering the truth. What ESPN has become about is propagating the sports leagues that they are partners with. And so we'll have a full discussion about sports journalism. And then, of course, a little bit on the Savannah Bananas. I was watching the Little League Softball World Series yesterday, and one of the young ladies in her bio said that her favorite baseball team is the Savannah Bananas. Let me say that one more time. I was watching the Little League Softball World Series, and one of the young ladies in her bio said that her favorite baseball team was the Savannah Bananas. That's not a baseball team. That is a circus clown show. This young woman's favorite baseball team, of all the teams to choose from, I would have taken the Nippon Tigers over the Savannah Bananas. She didn't go with the Braves. She's from Kentucky. She could have chosen all of those teams around there. There's none of them. She could have gone with the Cardinals. She could have gone with the Braves. Hey, even go with the Yankees. That would be better than saying your favorite baseball team is the Savannah Bananas. That's not a baseball team. And then it got the mind rolling about, wait a second, aren't we on the verge of an MLB lockout? Because according to Jeff Passan, a lockout is absolutely happening. It is not no if. It is not no maybe. According to Jeff Passan on the All the Smoke podcast, it's happening, brother. It would have been nice if that just played right when I finished my sentence. You know what I mean? Because that's like, how we do a show around here. I can't control this. I can't control this spinning wheel of death. Maybe I can.
Potential lockout looming.
It's not potential.
Is it coming? It's
happening.
No.
But he
This is Jeff Passan. This is the Adam Schefter of baseball. This is the guy, when he says something, we believe it. And when Matt But when Matt Barnes says a potential lockout, Jeff Passan corrects him and saying no potential lockout. This is happening.
Potential lockout looming.
It's not potential.
Is it coming?
It's happening. But here's the thing, and I think this is important for every audience. I try to say this whether I'm on SportsCenter or on wherever. December 1st is the day that the collective bargaining agreement expires. I do not believe there's going to be a new deal in place by then. That does not doom us for the 2027 season.
Yeah, I mean, they're showing PCA right now. By the way, PCA stole third yesterday in the bottom of the 11th. They overthrew the ball, and he instantly popped up and scored the game-winning run. PCA has got to be the NL MVP. He has been unbelievable the entire season, and he is so hot right now. Hot guy, does cool things, plays baseball so hard. What's up, Goku?
This is just big business being big business. And when you are a businessman, all you're looking for is leverage. And these sides are trying the best to figure out, how do we get leverage on the other side? How do we push ourselves closer to a deal? So in December, same as last time, you're gonna see arguing, you're gonna see all these doomsday scenarios that are put out there. But the real time when you should be getting concerned, if there's no movement by mid-February, by early March, then the season's in jeopardy. And that's when I'm going to be concerned personally, because baseball, like you said, it's in a great place, right? A really great place. And I don't think anybody who's involved wants to ruin that.
The music they chose for that is so ominous and so scary. They made it look very, very serious, and it is a serious situation. There is a world where this time next year, there is no MLB baseball during the summer. What does that mean for you and me? There's no Olympics in the summer. There's no World Cup in the summer. There is no Euros in the summer. There is not much to look forward to next summer except for Savannah Bananas baseball. Every MLB star that you know and love is going to be suiting up for the Party Animals next year. You can absolutely bet your bottom dollar that these guys are not going to just sit around and twiddle their thumbs all summer when they should be playing baseball. Every single high-profile MLB player is going to be suiting up for the Bananas or for the Party Animals next year, or the Firefighters or the Tree Trimmers. I don't know the rest of the teams. I think there's 5 of them. Who cares? All I know is that next summer, we're not going to have anything fun to watch or talk about except for Savannah Bananas baseball. Will we be locked in on it? Yes, of course. I'm going to become the preeminent voice in banana ball, although I absolutely despise it and hate it. There is also the Little League World Series on right now, which I feel like would be weird, but I have to become the preeminent voice in the Little League World Series. It's something I watch every year for, I don't know why, but every time I watch the Little League World Series, I'm like, dude, when I was 12, I wanted to play in this so bad. Here I am sitting at 30, jealous of these young children, jealous of these young boys who prefer watching banana ball over the actual MLB. That is a little bit about what we're getting into on today's show, but of course, as you know, we start this show the exact same way every single day, and that's with our verse of the day. Today's verse comes to you from Isaiah 33:22. For the Lord is our judge, our lawgiver, and our king. He will care for us and save us. Amen to that, brother. In addition to the verse of the day, we also do the movie of the day. Today's movie of the day is The Blind Side. Already started playing it on accident. Didn't mean to do that. Gonna go back real quick and start from the beginning because, as you guys know, can't miss the beginning of the great movie that is The Blind Side. Sandra Bullock, I believe, won an Oscar for her portrayal of that Southern lady. And Keith Urban was in this movie as well. Keith Urban, a famous country singer, but not country at all. He's actually Australian. Strange casting decision. I wasn't in charge of the casting, but if I was, I probably would have gone with a guy like Jelly Roll in that situation. Jelly Roll would have been way cooler in The Blind Side. Jelly Roll should have played Michael Orr in The Blind Side. That would have been way sicker. Yeah. We need to make a sports movie about like a rapper with face tattoos that suddenly becomes like the top wide receiver in the league. That'd be really, really cool. I don't know. Or not. Michael Orr knows little about family, less about football. What the homeless teen knows are the streets and the projects of Memphis. Well-to-do Leanne Tuhey knows little about this world, his world. Yet when she and Michael meet, he's found a home. And the two found something as life-changing, a beloved new son and brother. This real life story of family and Michael's growth and a blue chip football star have you cheering in his mixing of gridiron action and heart-warming dish emotion. Share the remarkable journey of the college All-American, and first-round NFL draft pick who was a winner before he has ever stopped on the playing field. Michael Orr. The Blind Side, ladies and gentlemen. Swaggy is in here. Goku fans on a 5-stream streak. What is up? Yo, when did I sub TF? We had a young gentleman named Hammer Dong jump into the show on Wednesday and drop some love on the chat. Fellas, it is officially time to get going on this episode of Take Back with Zach. I'm going to be starting the show on this Pablo Torre news drop about Kawhi Leonard and this new deal with Daktronics. We have a bit of a preamble from Pablo Torre himself to lead us into the discussion, and then we're going to be going live on TikTok and start talking ball and taking calls. A little bit of a side note on some of the show stuff. I've realized, like, for whatever reason, when I'm just like reading off of my notes and not acknowledging the TikTok at all, it seems like the views go up and the comments go up and the engagement goes up. So I'm going to just really focus on the Twitch chat, on you guys who are showing up day in and day out and the true fans of this show. And I'm going to kind of focus my efforts over there. Still use TikTok as like a call generator. Realistically, what I'm doing is I have 1, 2, 3, 6. I have 8 segments of today's show, right? And I'm going to go through segment by segment with a graphic for each of them and just kind of like keep knocking out segment by segment as we go. Hopefully I get 1 or 2 calls per segment just to talk about it a little bit so I'm not sitting here and spewing nonsense. And then when I'm done with all of my notes, I'm kind of just going to like go back to the top and cover some things I didn't cover and make some more jokes. And the takes will get better and better and better as I do it multiple times. So although it might feel repetitive, and I hope you guys don't fall away because you're like, I already heard him talk about this. The idea is we keep bringing the topics to light on TikTok so that new people can see it and be like, oh, this is interesting and cool. And then hopefully we get some more calls and some more fun. Have you gotten any responses from the video yet if you sent it out? I sent it out to a bunch of people. I sent it out to a bunch of agents and managers and some connections that I've made in the comedy world. And of course with some some former coworkers of mine. And it's getting out there. It's being moved to pretty heavy, not heavy, but like there's a few people at, I have some somewhat like 1 degree away connections to some big people at Barstool. So hopefully talking to some of those people. And then I have some other people working with some other content, sports type creators that might be interesting as well. That's kind of phase 1. If nothing happens towards this weekend or early next week, then phase 2 will begin where I'm going to start to send it out to radio stations across America and doing some like direct outreach to Pablo Torre and Dan Le Batard and Nick Wright and Colin Cowherd and The Ringer and The Athletic and all these kind of media companies and kind of just doing cold emails and be like, hey, here I am. So that's kind of phase 2. And then phase 3 will actually be like hard applying to radio stations across America and trying to do that thing. And then if none of those work, then we just keep rolling with TBWZ the way that it is, baby. We just keep working and getting better. I realized when I first started this show, it was October, so it was the middle of MLB playoffs, and football was hot and basketball was getting started, so it was a good time to start the show. However, looking back on some of those old shows, I was really bad at this at the time. I thought I was good. I was half decent. I was better than most starting for their first time, but still just not very good. I'm much better at doing this today than I was when I first started the show. So realistically, this NFL season is going to be like my first NFL season actually having chops, actually having some work underneath my belt, and some more expertise in the area of talking ball and taking calls. So very excited about what's going to come from this NFL season. But yeah, Oreo, we've sent it out to a few close people. If we don't hear anything back, next step is direct outreach to some bigger names through DMs and emails and whatever I can find, some sleuthing around. And then after that, phase 3 is going to be blasting it out to radio stations across America and try to get TBWZ broadcast live on radio stations across America. It should be absolutely thrilling. But like I said, we're going to start today's show with a little bit on this Kawhi Leonard situation directly from the show Pablo Torre Finds Out itself. Side note, last week Pablo Torre liked one of my tweets. So we're going to DM the clip to him as quickly as possible.
This is the approximately $100 million Halo board. It is the double-sided oval-shaped crown jewel of Steve Ballmer's Intuit Dome. You may now recall, how Daktronics' fellow Clippers partner at the time, Aspiration, they got their name out by hiring celebrity spokespeople.
Sure.
Daktronics, by contrast, does not use public-facing celebrity spokespeople or endorsers to promote the brand at all, apparently. And as one former Daktronics employee told us in a text message,
I was told since it's B2B and not a consumer product, it didn't make sense to advertise that way.
they're the worldwide leader, arguably, in Jumbotron
What they're getting at is Daktronics is a company that makes Jumbotrons across America, and they never do any sort of, you don't see any Daktronics commercials. You don't see athletes being like, I like to see my plays on Daktronics. They don't do any sort of corporate sponsorship. They don't do any sort of partnership with any sort of advertising at all, because they're a business-to-business type company. They're not a B2C. They're not business to consumer. So they've over their 60-year history have decided there's not really a point in advertising this company at all. So why on earth do they have an advertising deal, a partnership deal with Kawhi Leonard?
manufacturing. But this is where I do need you to know something else. And this is something that I initially heard on the phone from the first high-level source I've been talking to for the last 11 months.
This was talked about just openly within the organization and from people working on the project that Kawhi was a spokesperson for Daktronics. And it was just the biggest thing. It was just openly joked about within people working on the project that knew about this, as it was 1,000% a way to circumvent the salary cap.
And over
That man that they were interviewing right there is a high-level employee who was tasked with helping to build the Intuit Dome in 2023. Okay, so that man basically just said Daktronics had a partnership deal with Kawhi Leonard, and it was an open secret amongst the people building the center, amongst the contractors, amongst Daktronics employees as well, that this was all just a reason for the Clippers to pay Kawhi extra money outside of the salary cap.
months of vetting the second high-level Clippers source, a former official, they also independently confirmed something else, which is that this Kawhi deal was not only talked about by fellow higher-ups at the Clippers and Daktronics as a way to circumvent the NBA salary cap.
Quote, I know Kawhi had a sponsorship with Daktronics, unquote.
That's the smoking gun, ladies and gentlemen.
This second source was also told that Kawhi's Daktronics sponsorship was a multi-million-dollar deal, as my first source separately explained on tape.
Before we get to that, of course, 2023, this is the year that Kawhi Leonard signed a less than max deal to stay with the Clippers. He was able and eligible to sign for the max deal. He chose not to sign with the max and chose to take less money from the Clippers in order to build out their roster. Turns out he was making less money from the Clippers, but still getting paid by that team by essentially laundering their money through Daktronics.
People at Daktronics, people within the Clippers organization themselves had told me about this multi-million-dollar deal with Kawhi and Daktronics. They're not a company that you would see a celebrity endorser for, and then it wasn't coming out of their end, that the Clippers were technically kind of funding it, and that it was funneling money from the Clippers through Daktronics back to Kawhi.
You know how many teams they work with? How many stadiums? They had their pick of the litter, and they went with Kawhi Leonard, who then never does anything. They don't even put out a press release.
Look, in fairness, maybe Daktronics would claim that there were private secret things, the things behind closed doors. And because of that possibility, late last month, Sam Koppelman of Hunter Brick Media reached out to Daktronics directly.
I got an email from someone who seemed to be a PR person, a marketing person at Daktronics. He then writes back to say, you know what, I'm not going to call you, but let me introduce you to our VP. But that person was actually the general counsel of Daktronics. As soon as I mentioned the name Kawhi Leonard, I didn't hear back directly from Daktronics, but within 30 minutes, I got an email from someone from the domain name gfbunting.com.
And so for this crisis comms guy to call back and say,
quote, my understanding.
That, of course, GF Bunting is a crisis communications management firm. So once the reporter, Sam from Hunter Brook Media, reached out to Daktronics and was like, hey, we kind of are going to go live with this story about Kawhi Leonard and this deal with Daktronics, just seeing if you guys wanted to comment. They didn't respond. Instead, a crisis management firm reached out to Sam and said, hey, I saw you emailed Daktronics about Kawhi Leonard. I'm not employee at Daktronics, but I am a crisis management contractor that works for that company. And here's our quote. My understanding is Daktronics doesn't have a deal with Kawhi Leonard right now.
Is Daktronics doesn't have a deal with Kawhi right now.
Another possible answer, by the way, might have been,
I don't know what you're talking about. But that's not the answer I got from these professional crisis comms strategists when I followed up on it. What he said was, quote, I don't know what the company wants to say or can say, given the Wachtell investigation and all that.
Do you know how locked in you have to be for the name Wachtell to come? I mean, not like...
Wachtell is, of course, the independent partner that Adam Silver and the NBA hired to do investigative reporting on this whole situation with Kawhi Leonard and aspirations. So the only way that you would know the name Wachtell is if you were following along with this story on Kawhi Leonard and this salary circumnavigation situation. It's the only reason you would ever know about the name Wachtell. So, of course, this crisis management guy reached out and was like, I don't know what I'm allowed to say given the Wachtell situation. It screams absolutely guilty on all facts. Let's start with a little bit of the history on this situation. So, Kawhi Leonard, coming off of the 2019 NBA championship, the finals MVP, bringing a chip to the six for the Toronto Raptors, he was a free agent. Kawhi Leonard had suitors from the Los Angeles Lakers and, of course, from Toronto trying to keep him. Those were the two frontrunners in 2019 when Kawhi Leonard became a free agent. He ends up signing with the Clippers seemingly out of nowhere, as the Lakers and the Raptors were heavy favorites at the time to land the claw. In 2019, the Lakers and the Raptors both filed injunctions with the NBA about the signing of Kawhi Leonard to the Clippers, because it's very, very, very reported that Uncle Dennis, Kawhi's agent at the time, Kawhi never had an agent until this season. Interesting. Kawhi Leonard always represented himself along with his Uncle Dennis. They were asking the Raptors for ownership stake in the team in order for Kawhi Leonard to sign with them. They're like, we will take a max deal plus 10% of the actual Raptors in ownership. And the Raptors were like, that's illegal, bro. We can't give you ownership of the team. They went to the Lakers and they said, we will sign with you for a max deal and a percentage stake of ownership in the team. The Lakers said, that's illegal. We cannot give you ownership of the team that you are currently playing for. That's not in the rules. So then when he signs with the Clippers, both the Lakers and the Raptors are sitting there like, wait a second, what happened? Dennis and Kawhi asked for something from us. We said no, but yet we still offered the max. He wanted to play for us. He decides to go to the Clippers. What was the reason that enticed him to play for the Los Angeles Clippers? Turns out he signed with the Clippers in part because of a side deal that Steve Ballmer set up with a company called Aspiration. Aspiration is a company that's goal was to plant trees across the country, to plant trees across America, and to help with our carbon footprint and put some more O2 into the oxygen layer. That didn't make any sense. To put some more O2 into the atmosphere. That was the goal. Clippers got to get back to San Diego, bro. That should be the punishment. Send the Clippers to San Diego. Ultimately, he signs with the Clippers in 2019, part of this side deal with Steve Ballmer and a company called Aspiration, a company that Steve Ballmer was an investor in, a company that his roommate from Harvard Business School, Stephen Wong, who's also the only other person in the world to have any ownership stake in the Clippers. He has 1%, and Steve Ballmer has the other 99%. He was also an investor in this company called Aspiration. When Aspiration in 2024 went under for fraud and embezzlement, a bunch of court documents got released into the public, including one that said they owed $45 million to an investor named KL2 LLC out of California. KL2, Kawhi Leonard, number 2. Yes, ding ding, you got the answer right. You are the next contestant on The Price is Kawhi. Kawhi signs with the Clippers because Steve Ballmer essentially promised him an extra $45 million that they would funnel to him through this company called Aspiration. Kawhi Leonard was essentially a spokesperson for Aspiration, which, between you and me, that's completely legal. Aspiration had done spokesperson, celebrity endorsement type things with the likes of Robert Downey Jr. and Orlando Bloom and Drake and Leonardo DiCaprio. All of those guys I named that were part of this celebrity endorsement for Aspiration did something for the company. They either posted on their story, they either made a clip for them, they appeared at an event, they did press for Aspiration. And that's what you would do. If you started a company and you hired me to be a spokesperson for the company, you would expect me to do something for you, right? It's called goods of service. Kawhi Leonard got paid $45 million by Aspiration, and he did not even send a single tweet about them. He did not post one time on his story. He never even appeared in a picture. The company also never told anyone about it. They never announced it. Hey, if you're Aspiration and you just got a deal with a spokesperson in the NBA, you think you would probably sing it from the mountaintops. Aspiration did not. Kawhi Leonard never announced it. So when Pablo Torre was snooping around these documents and saw KL2 was getting $45 million to do nothing for the company, it became very clear that he was not paid $45 million to do anything for Aspiration, because he was really paid $45 million by Steve Ballmer through the company Aspiration. It is called circumnavigating the salary cap. And I know it can be a difficult word for some of you guys to understand because some of you are 12 years old, but circumnavigating basically means avoiding. The salary cap in sports is a hard cap. It's a little bit different in the NBA. It's got a second apron, but it still essentially serves as a hard cap. There's a max amount of money that a player can make. So in order to pay them outside of the salary cap, you have to do some really sneaky things, which is what the Clippers did in this situation. Now, given that it is 2026, given the fact that in 2024, Kawhi was up for in 2023, Kawhi Leonard was up for an extension. At this point, Aspiration is in the middle of an embezzlement issue with the United States government and being sued for fraud of investors, investor fraud, if you will. What's up to everybody joining in on the TikTok? If you could follow and like the stream, it helps grow the show. But if you don't want to see the show grow at all, then don't do anything. That's fine. You can also watch on Twitch and YouTube.com. 2023, Kawhi Leonard was up for an extension with the team, and he took less than a max deal. He took less money than he could have gotten from the Clippers and decided to play for them anyways. This is a guy that just 4 years before was demanding ownership stake from the teams that he was going to sign with. So now Kawhi Leonard, 4 years later, has he had a change of heart? He's decided, you know what, I'm going to take less than the max in order to play for the Clippers. It just doesn't make sense for a guy like Kawhi Leonard. So when you continue to snoop around and you continue to look, it became clear and obvious that the Intuit Dome, the stadium in which Steve Ballmer built with his own money, the stadium in which the Los Angeles Clippers play right now in Inglewood, California, the stadium in which many are calling the most state-of-art building in the entire world, that stadium, that team. What's up, Ethan? Good to see you, bro. Congrats on the dub yesterday for the Cubbies. That stadium was being built in 2023, the same time that Kawhi Leonard needed a contract extension, and the exact same time that Steve Ballmer was building a $100 million Jumbotron that was going to be the greatest Jumbotron we've ever seen, called the Halo. What company did he use to purchase and manufacture the Halo? A company called Daktronics. Daktronics is a company that you've probably seen every single time you've been to a sporting event. They are the premier retailer, business to business, in Jumbotrons across America and across the world. So Steve Ballmer is building this $100 million Halo Jumbotron in his new arena with a company called Daktronics right as this company Aspiration is going under. The company that he was using to funnel money to Kawhi Leonard outside of the Clippers organization, away from anything the NBA was seeing. He then struck a deal for a $100 million Jumbotron with Daktronics. Shortly after this, after Kawhi Leonard takes less money, after Kawhi Leonard decides to re-sign with the Clippers, we've obtained documents that show that Kawhi Leonard was named a spokesperson for the company Daktronics this year. Wow! A second deal for Kawhi Leonard has hit the building, Mr. President. Daktronics is a company that is 60 years old. A company that's been around for a very, very long time and has never one time used a celebrity endorsement. Never one time. So after 60 years of business, they decided to do a celebrity endorsement with Kawhi Leonard, maybe the most boring guy in all of sports. They got Jumbotrons in every stadium in America. They had every athlete at their disposal, every single team. They chose to get sponsored by Kawhi Leonard and the Los Angeles Clippers, one of the bottom franchises in professional sports in terms of care and fans. And then a guy like Kawhi Leonard, who's maybe the most boring person in sports right now, the only cool thing he's ever done is go, ha, 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 ha. Handsome reptilians back in the chat. Daktronics needs to make a deal with Dak Prescott. Unbelievable wordplay from my friend Handsome Reptilian. Amon says thoughts on the Suns this year. Just not even close to what we're talking about, but I appreciate you jumping into the show. We could talk about the Suns, maybe never. Dude, the Suns? I don't know. Did they play above their expectation last year? Yeah, sure. Are they going to do that again? I don't know. I doubt it. Can Devin Booker be the best team on a championship team? No, he can't. I am firm in that take. I don't believe that Devin Booker could be the best player on a championship team. They had their shot in 2021. That was the real bubble season, but whatever. Hunter Brook Media, who helped Pablo Torre with this story about Kawhi Leonard, Pablo Torre with the story, reached out for comment from Daktronics, and instead of getting approached with someone saying, I don't know what you're talking about, a spokesperson for the company saying, no, we don't have a deal with Kawhi Leonard, they got approached by a crisis management firm that claimed there is no deal with Kawhi Leonard right now. Right now? Very interesting word choice, my friend. He didn't say we've never, ever done a deal with Kawhi Leonard. He didn't say that there is nothing going on with Kawhi and the Clippers. There never has been, never will be. He said, right now, there isn't one. And then he further said, I don't know what I'm allowed to say right now, given the entire investigation happening with Steve Ballmer. Multiple sources, high-level people in the Clippers organization and in the company Daktronics have come to Pablo Torre and said, it's a running joke right now that absolutely 100% with evidence Kawhi Leonard was getting paid by the Clippers through Daktronics in an attempt to circumnavigate the salary cap. Kawhi is a funny guy. If you want to call into the show, the number's at the bottom of the screen. It's 213-352-5216, by the way. It's a crazy situation, but one of the craziest parts of all is that the NBA has known about this now for almost a year and hasn't done a single thing. They hired their own investigative team. They hired their own independent firm to do some digging, to corroborate what Pablo Torre is saying, to see if this is actually true. Is Steve Ballmer really circumnavigating the salary cap? They've been investigating this for over 6 months and have yet to file a single report. They have not told the people a single thing. At the NBA All-Star game this season, which was played at the Intuit Dome, home of the Clippers, home of this whole scandal. Oops, I forgot to do this. Reporters asked Adam Silver about this whole situation, said, when do you expect a decision? He said, we're going to try to make a decision as quickly and swiftly as possible. I think a decision got made. I really do. I think the decision got made by Adam Silver and the NBA to do nothing because they're afraid of Steve Ballmer. Because Steve Ballmer is not just the richest owner in the NBA. Steve Ballmer is the richest owner in all of sports. Steve Ballmer is one of the richest men in the world. In the history of civilization, Steve Ballmer is a top 10 rich dude. He has more money than the NBA. He has more money than all of the NBA owners combined. This dude is doing whatever he wants when he wants. And the NBA is afraid of that. Now, if you're Adam Silver in the NBA, why not just come down hard? Pause. Why not just give Kawhi Leonard a year suspension? Why not ban Steve Ballmer from his team for a year? Why not take away his team from Steve Ballmer? The only reason you wouldn't do something so harsh like that to Steve Ballmer is if you knew that there were other things going on in the NBA, much like this. Deep down, in my bones, in my gut, and in my balls, I believe that Kawhi Leonard was not the only player in the NBA getting side money to play for the Clippers. I believe there are many players across the NBA that have been getting side deals to play for their teams. I believe that there are many scandals involving the salary cap and circumnavigating it in the NBA. That if Adam Silver was to come down hard, pause, on Steve Ballmer has all the ammunition and the lawyers in the world to be like, oh yeah? Well, check this out. The NBA is in a really, really tough spot with this Steve Ballmer situation and with Kawhi Leonard. If you want to call in and talk about Kawhi and discuss a little bit about this situation, the phone lines are open. The number is 213-352-5216. Do you believe that Kawhi should be punished? Do you believe that this is okay in the NBA? Do you believe that Adam Silver is acting like a baby? Do you think he should be going harder at Kawhi Leonard? If you want to call in and discuss, you can right now. Speaking of things being discussed, well, here we go. Here's a phone call right now. What is up, brother? You are live on TBWZ Widescreen Radio. What's your name? Where are you calling in from?
Yo, my name's Bob. I live in San Antonio.
Bobby from San Antonio calling into the show. Have you been locked in on what's happening with Kawhi Leonard and the NBA?
Yes, sir, I have. And I've heard a bunch of conspiracy theories about this. It's his uncle that's doing this to get him some more money. So
his Uncle Dennis, famously, Kawhi Leonard has never had an agent until this year, which is weird. But Uncle Dennis has been representing Kawhi, and he's been the one kind of leading these charges and trying to get these shady side deals. So yeah, it's been him and his Uncle Dennis.
I think that's what happened. That's why he got out of San Antonio, because San Antonio didn't want to deal with that.
Yeah,
with his uncle as well. So that's why they parted ways with him. Sent him to Toronto to the cold, but backfired. They want a ring, and I think he should be suspended for at least a year.
You would think punishment needs to get levied. The hard part is we can suspend Kawhi Leonard and be like, all right, Kawhi Leonard got suspended for a year. How do you punish Steve Ballmer? Steve Ballmer is one of the richest men in the world. He has more money than the NBA. Like the true person that needs to be punished is him.
Yes, Steve Ballmer needs to be punished. It's just like the NFL when Robert Kraft got punished. I feel a little bit. So
it's a tough situation. You even mentioned as a Spurs fan, like a lot of the reasoning from Dennis and from Kawhi is why he didn't want to continue on with his relationship with the Spurs is because the medical team messed his knee up or something like that.
Yeah.
At this point, I got to believe that's completely fake.
Yeah, I believe so too. So we'll see what happens. I know there's talks about him coming back to the Spurs as well. I don't even want him.
No.
So,
I mean, you guys got Victor Wembanyama essentially because you didn't have Kawhi Leonard. If he was still a part of that team, I don't know if you would have landed Wemby. Bro, we're about 3 months or 2 months removed from the NBA Finals. Have you been able to take a breath and think about what that NBA Finals meant to you as a Spurs fan?
Yes, we're up 4 games in a row, and we just couldn't close it out. That's just couldn't close it out. Just a young team. The fact that we lost in 5, still heartbreaking, but we're a young team. We'll get back.
Yeah. I'm stoked for the NBA season to come, but it is football. Brother Bob, thank you for calling. Thank you for following the show. Before you go, question of the day on TBWZ, do you have a fantasy football sleeper pick for the people?
Oh, fantasy football sleeper? I'm a wide receiver guy heavy, so
yeah.
It might have to be Diggs is signed with the Commanders. It might be Diggs.
Diggs is a good one. Diggs is a good one. That's the Cliff Kingsbury offense. Jaden will be rolling with that team. Brother, Bob, thanks for calling in. God bless. We'll talk soon, bro.
Yes, sir. You too. Bye-bye.
That's my guy Bob from San Antonio jumping in on the Kawhi Leonard situation. TJ Stukes said, man, I was in San Antonio with my New York flag walking around like a loose pit bull. I mean, just bing-bonging left and right along the Riverwalk. You New York fans are absolutely nuts. I am so excited for next NBA season. There's just so much going on in the Eastern Conference and in the West, bro. I'm so excited. What is up, brother? You are live on TBWZ Widescreen Radio. Which name were you calling in from?
Mirza, from Toronto.
Mirza, my guy from Toronto, famous caller of this show. At this point, what is your, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that Kawhi Leonard plays for the Raptors next season?
9.
Oh, you're 100% thinking he's coming.
I'm going to tell you why.
Tell me.
Just like, see, at first, I thought it was like a 2 out of 10. He's not coming. But now, so I dug a little deeper, right? Because obviously it's the Raptors who are in the situation too.
Yeah.
And so here's what I found out. This is per like NBA sources, Michael Grange, whatever.
Okay.
So per the CBA, okay, a player, if he's involved in whatever scandal this type of shit is, like salary cap, whatever, circumventing it or whatever, he cannot be suspended. The most they could realistically do is fine him and give him what's it called again? And void his contract, which for Toronto is a win-win anyways, because we'll just get him for free then, because where else is he gonna go, right?
Okay, so you're saying what they could do as punishment is void the contract, and then he's just gonna sign with Toronto because no one else would want him?
I mean, I think people would want him, but Kawhi, he's already stated publicly, and he doesn't really lie. I mean, like, because he doesn't, like, I don't see him as a liar. I mean, he hasn't really lied the whole time he's been in the league. He said he was going to leave Toronto. He left Toronto. He said he wanted to go to the Toronto Raptors or the Spurs. He's probably going to go to either one, and the Spurs probably won't take him. They'll try if his contract is voided, I'm sure. But I doubt he goes to the Spurs anyways. And then on top of that, the only other thing that could happen is, like, obviously the team personnel could be suspended or whatever. Sure. Kawhi's agent, or his uncle or whatever, whoever runs stuff, he could be punished. The team who did it, so the Clippers, they could lose draft picks and this and that. But the only problem there would be that the NBA would have to work with Steve Ballmer to give him a punishment, and this is public information, because obviously they don't want to upset a billionaire, because then they'll go to court with him, and that's a whole other problem.
I think, Mirza, you're getting to the heat of it, or the heart of the story that I want to highlight is money runs this country, and money runs the legal system in a lot of ways, and Steve Ballmer has the most of it. Adam Silver seems almost powerless in this situation to levy a punishment to Steve Ballmer, because if he does, Steve Ballmer just sues the NBA, and it's like, no, I'm part owner in this whole entire league, and you can't do anything to me.
Exactly. I really don't know what Adam Silver could do, because the NBA really has got to figure out something to where the commissioner gets more power, because this is ridiculous. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not complaining, because you know what I also think? Because
tell me.
The Clippers signed him or whatever, they probably made a deal in advance, because that's just realistic. Because why would he leave Toronto after they won a chip? Maybe. Okay, sure. He wanted to leave anyways. Everyone knew that. But on top of that, though, what Levy did is that, the Clippers still gave him this money, like, extra over the salary cap. We're talking, I'd say over, $40, $50 million.
It was $45 million with aspiration was that side deal.
40 with aspiration. There you go. So if you're thinking about it like that, then you could be like, okay, maybe this is the only way he left Toronto, and the Raptors could make a case. And then the Clippers would have to give the Raptors more draft capital as well.
There's that. I mean, it's a possible situation. The real one is Dennis and Kawhi asked the Toronto Raptors for ownership stake in the Raptors, and the Raptors were like, no, that's illegal. And then he went to the Lakers and said, we'll sign a max deal with you, and he'll play for the Lakers, but he wants ownership stake. And the Lakers were like, no, that's illegal. And then randomly 2 days later, he signs with the Clippers. You think if he's asking for something illegal from the Raptors and from the Lakers, he's not going to ask for something illegal from the Clippers? Steve Ballmer just said yes.
Whoa, I did not hear about that.
He even asked he's like, well, if you can't give me ownership stake in the Raptors, how about in the Toronto Maple Leafs, because the owner owns both those teams? And they're like, no. He's like, dude, we cannot give you ownership stake in the team. And so the Lakers said no, the Raptors said no, and then he went to the Clippers, and he's like, well, I'll give you $45 million extra on the side. And he said, I'll sign up right now. So It's a
Whoa.
crazy situation, Mirza. I don't think we're really going to get a true punishment from Adam Silver anytime soon. But when it happens, I cannot wait to go live and hear your take on it, brother. We're going to keep rolling with today's show. But before you go, the question of the day on today's show is, who is your fantasy football sleeper this season?
I'll tell you what, I don't know football, but whoever the Buffalo Bills QB is, Josh, whatever, I take him.
Okay. All right. Officially, Josh Allen is on our sleeper picks for the NFL football season. Mirza, you're the absolute man, bro. God bless. We'll talk soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Josh Allen, famously a sleeper in the NFL fantasy football. Enough on Kawhi Leonard. We'll get back to some of that maybe later in this show. But according to reports around the Vikings camp that I have been seeing, the quarterback competition between Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy is over. And it is very likely that Kyler Murray is going to be named the starter of this team. I've been hearing that report that just dropped this morning from all the Vikings podcasts, and all the Vikings beat reporters have said it's pretty clear that Kyler Murray is going to get the nod as the starter of this team. 2 days ago, all the reports coming out told me that I got Kawhi Leonard on the brain, I'm sorry. That J.J. McCarthy and Kyler Murray were pretty much playing the same. In fact, they even went as far to say this was J.J. McCarthy's worst camp. At the previous 2 seasons, he looked much better in camp than he has this season. And that having Kyler Murray there, you can see the Kyler Murray thing, that's why I'm getting tripped up. Having Kyler Murray there has not really done what I think KOC wanted it to do. The reports that I've been hearing before today was not much separated the two quarterbacks, and the notion that competition would bring out the best in J.J. McCarthy seemed to just be flat out wrong. One of the more interesting aspects of the J.J. Viking situation is although the rest of the world has moved on from 9 and just think that he's a complete meme now, the hardcore Vikings fans still really, really, really believe in J.J. McCarthy. Is it just because they're Minnesota nice? And they don't want to throw their sweet blonde hair, blue-eyed baby boy onto the cold frozen tundra that is Minneapolis? Maybe. Maybe they're just kind. Maybe they really, really know ball and they see something that you and I don't see. But it appears like KOC is done with J.J. McCarthy. And I think it's important to remember what happened last year with a guy named Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold was a guy that started his career with the Jets. And the Jets, he played him for 2 years, kicked his ass out. Didn't mean to say ass, never said it on the show, but we just said it. Kicked him to the curb. Then he goes to Carolina, doesn't perform there, kicks him to the curb. Then he signs with the Vikings, has an unbelievable season. And they kick him to the curb. And then last year he goes out and wins a Super Bowl for the Seattle Seahawks. When looking at this entire situation with J.J. McCarthy and Kyler Murray and the Vikings, is there a chance that we're moving on from J.J. McCarthy too soon? What is up, brother? You are live on TBWZ Widescreen Radio. What's your name? Where are you calling in from?
Hi, my name's Freddie from Kansas.
Freddie from Kansas?
Yeah.
Why does it sound like there's a tinge of fibbing in your voice?
Of what?
Of fibbery, of lying. Are you truly from Kansas, Freddie?
Well, my name's really just Fred, not Freddie.
All right, there it is. I found the lie. Freddie, you're calling into the show. What do you have for the people today, brother?
What are the topics?
Right now, we're currently talking about the J.J. McCarthy situation. It appears that Kyler Murray is going to be the quarterback, the starter for the Minnesota Vikings. And I'm asking you, do you think that the Vikings are moving on from J.J. McCarthy too soon? Are we going to have a similar situation of what happened with Baker and Sam Darnold with J.J. McCarthy?
Honestly, I just really don't like Kyler Murray. You know, he's, 4'11". I don't think he's really fit to be an NFL quarterback. J.J. McCarthy, on the other hand, J.J. McCarthy's that guy. He should really be the starter this year, or they should go pick up a guy like Mason Rudolph.
Huh. You think Mason Rudolph might be the answer for the Minnesota Vikings? Why Mason Rudolph of all people?
I mean, he's just that guy. I don't really know what else to say.
Maybe he has that dog in him?
Yeah, 100%.
Freddie, I absolutely love that. Who's your football team, Freddie? Being in Kansas, I would assume it's the Chiefs?
Oh, no, I like the Cardinals.
You are a Cardinals fan. Very interesting. Of course, we watched Carson Beck play football last night. Do you think Carson Beck should start for this team, or should it be Jacoby Brissett?
I think it should be Gardner Minshew.
Wow, you're going with the snake. You're going with Gardner Minshew. Why Minshew?
You know that mustache he has? I think
I
it looks
do.
really good on him. I think that would make him a great QB1.
Freddie wants Gardner Minshew because he thinks he's hot. Let's go. I am a Chargers fan. I have the hottest quarterback in the NFL. Do you believe that Justin Herbert is not paying enough attention to the sport and paying too much attention to his hot pop star girlfriend?
Definitely his girlfriend.
Freddie, I absolutely love it. You are an unbelievable talent. Thank you for calling into today's show. Before you go, we have a question of the day on today's show. The question is, who is your fantasy football sleeper this season?
I really think Bam Knight.
Bam Knight. I like it. A running back for the Cardinals, correct? Your team?
Yeah.
It's a great pick. Freddie, thanks for calling in. God bless. We'll talk soon, brother. That's my guy, Freddie from Kansas, calling into the show. Destroya says, is Murray the GOAT? Mr. Self-Love with maybe the chat of the day saying Mason has a cat in him. Unbelievable, Mr. Self-Love. That is it, bro. That is the chat of the day, the joke of the day so far. I think that there's a chance, a slight, slim, very tiny white chance that J.J. McCarthy might still be good at football. I didn't see anything at Michigan that led me think that. In fact, I think that Jim Harbaugh-led national championship team did their best to hide J.J. McCarthy throughout the entire thing. I also thought that when he played last year, he wasn't very good. I didn't see the goods, if you will, bro. But I also didn't see it in Sam Darnold, and he proved everybody wrong. What is up, my brother? You are live on TBWZ Widescreen Radio. Guys, give it up for my friend Trey from Virginia. What's up, Trey?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing very good. Trey, I saw on your TikTok that you did a ranking of every quarterback in the NFL.
Oh, no. So what I'm doing is every day I'm putting up a new ranking of the quarterbacks that I have by division.
Division.
The quarterbacks 1 through 4.
Well, we are currently talking right now about J.J. McCarthy and Kyler Murray. It seems like the Vikings beat reporters have alluded to the fact that Kyler Murray is going to be the starter over there in the Vikings organization. So maybe we could just start with that division, the NFC North. Do you want to rank those quarterbacks for us? That's a fun one.
Yeah, I can definitely do that. And if you want reasoning, I can give it to you. But for me, the ranking, I think 4 and 3 are solidified, and then 1 and 2 you could go either way. So 4 for me is Kyler, 3 is Caleb, 2 is Jordan Love, and 1 is Jared Goff.
You are sipping the Jared Goff juice. He was the highest ranked quarterback in the top 100 amongst all of those guys. What is it about Jared Goff that people just think he's not very good? Every single year he comes out and just balls, and no one wants to give him credit.
Well, so here's the thing. It's like, they're like, okay, well, Jared Goff is like, is sometimes inefficient in the playoffs and sometimes doesn't translate. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's true. So is Jordan Love, and so is Caleb Williams. So realistically, at the end of the day, outside of just the playoffs, since you can't really take the playoffs for any of those guys, if I'm looking at the regular season, when Jared Goff is hot, he's absurdly efficient.
Yeah.
And he can also generate tons of touchdowns, tons of yards, great pocket passer. Whereas Caleb Williams, he's a guy with the 3rd lowest completion percentage in the NFL last year. He had the most bad throws total thrown in the entire league last year.
Mm-hmm.
Just like a very inefficient quarterback, inconsistent. I can't trust that. And then I think Jordan Love is kind of just like the worst, like the slightly worse version of Jared Goff. But like I said, you could probably go either way there.
A lot of people are going to have Caleb Williams as the number 1 quarterback in that division, as I probably do.
See, here's the thing.
Oh, no.
I think if you have Caleb Williams high, I don't understand. It's like the guy had the 3rd lowest completion in football. He couldn't play for the first 3 quarters. Can't complete a simple out route. I don't know. I get the highlight plays, but that's it. That's all there is.
Well, Trey, famously on this show, I've said many times, I don't do stats, I don't do numbers, I don't do metrics, I just do the eye test, baby. And the eye test is telling me that Caleb Williams is the best quarterback in the division, and you can't tell me otherwise.
Well, hey, fair enough, bro. Fair enough.
If you go by eye test, it's absolutely him. Speaking of eye test, I am seeing something happen in San Francisco, which is all of the Niners seem to be falling to the wayside by an electrical substation. I don't know anything about electricity. I'm not Thomas Edison, but I do know that these players getting hurt at an unbelievable rate, and maybe, just maybe, it's because of this electronic substation.
It has to be, right? Like, there's no way that San Francisco is just this unlucky. There's no way.
It's like your coach is getting in car accidents. You know, you've got Brandon Ayuk going crazy. Kids are getting shot before they even play for the team. And now every single player is dropping like flies because of their proximity to EMF rays. It's the most InfoWars Alex Jones NFL story we've ever had since the concussion story and Ray Rice punching his girlfriend.
Yeah, it's either that San Francisco has been cursed by God or there is some sort of like weird electric ray that is like weakening players' muscles and bones.
Yeah. God was like, San Francisco's getting a little bit too prideful, if you know what I mean. We got to not.
Exactly, yeah.
Because gay guys really, really care about the football team that their city has.
No, they were glazing Brock Purdy a little bit too much. We had to bring him back down to earth a little bit.
But here's the list. Mike Evans, DeJuan Stribling, Ricky Pearsall, Christian Kirk, all wide receivers. And then you got Dre Greenlaw, Kyle Juszczyk, Nick Bosa, and 12 other players were not practicing yesterday for the San Francisco 49ers.
Well, there's good news, though. CMC
please. Yeah, please tell me.
CMC is healthy, which means their offense will go right as planned. CMC last year was their number one receiver and their number one running back, and somehow it worked.
Every single year when fantasy football comes up, I start thinking about my running back rankings and who I'm going to take where. And every year I get afraid of CMC because I'm like, he gets injured too much. He hasn't been injured in 4 years.
Well, that's the thing, because it's like, if he doesn't get injured, you are guaranteed at least 30 points from CMC every week.
Yeah,
he's guaranteed.
So maybe the EMF rays are helping guys like CMC, maybe because he has a slight robotic tinge to his genetic makeup.
Bro, at this point, with the amount of surgeries and whatever he's probably had to have, freaking procedures, he probably does have a bit of robot inside of him somewhere.
He's got a little robo in him. Trey, unbelievable stuff. Was there anything that was tickling your fancy in this sporting world? We were talking about Kawhi Leonard.
Oh, you know there is. There is.
What do you want to talk about? Hopefully I have it.
My boys got me Stephon Diggs.
The Washington Commanders got Stephon Diggs, which is a great time for us to play a game of contender or pretender. Let's start with the Washington Commanders. Are they a true contender, or is this team just a pretender?
I am here to tell you, first and foremost, we are a contender.
Wow.
And now you say, wow, that sounds pretty biased, and you'd be right. But there is reasoning. There is reasoning behind it.
With numbers and metrics?
Well, and not just that, but it's just kind of common sense.
Oh,
in
yes.
2024, Washington's team was garbage, right? It was terrible. And Jaden Daniels dragged them to the NFC Championship game.
Pretty much.
Now the team has just gotten infinitely better. Instead of De'Ami Brown as his wide receiver 2, he has Stephon Diggs. And instead of Chris Moore as our wide receiver 3, we have a new up-and-coming rookie in Antonio Williams. Now we don't have Jaden Daniels leading the team in rushing like he had to do in 2024. Now we've got a running back room of Bill and Katron. We've upgraded the entire defense. Old Man Wagner is out. Sonny Styles is in. Leo Chenal is in from the Chiefs. Trey Amos is coming back. He looked locked down before the injury. We've got new safeties, new corners. We literally reinvented our entire team. This team's way better than 24.
I'm just glad I'm recording this show because all of the players that you named, I'm like, I wouldn't touch those players with a 10-foot pole, except for Leo Chenal.
Really?
I don't know. It seems like a team that's in a tough division. They got some good competition. The book is still out on Jaden Daniels. We saw him play at an unbelievable pace his rookie year, won Rookie of the Year, took his team to the NFC Championship game. Dude, we've seen a lot of guys play good in their rookie year and then just kind of slowly fizzle out.
Well, okay.
It's all about the O-line with this team.
I don't want to pick on you, okay? But
okay.
We got to see Jaden Daniels. We got to see him really healthy with his full team healthy in one game last year. And that was when we beat the Chargers, I think, 31-10.
All right, get out.
So I'm just putting that out there.
Of all the things to talk about today, you're like, hey, let's talk about the worst game in the regular season of the Chargers last season. Yeah. Deebo Samuel had like 3 catches the entire season, had 17 in that game. It was unbelievable. But you're right.
Yeah.
And that was a really good defense that finished as a top 5 defense in the league in the Chargers. And you guys kind of just went into their stadium and rolled straight through them. There was no looking back.
And the thing is, full compliments. You guys were a very good team. Jaden Daniels was just on a mission.
Thank you.
Like when he is healthy and our team is healthy, it's just I can't bet against 5. Like I can't do it.
And my number one memory of the Commanders season last year was that Thursday night football game against the Broncos where Marcus Mariota had a 2-point conversion at the very end of the game to win the game and threw the ball like into the dirt or something like that. But he was at least close. Speaking of my Chargers, just to be a little bit myopic, are people being too mean to my quarterback? Because people are being really nasty to Justin Herbert right now.
And it's stupid, actually. I'm glad you brought this up because this is like the most non-scandal thing I've ever seen in my life. So like this was like either like right after or like kind of during the end of practice. Justin Herbert is seen like with his girlfriend on the field. Now in that clip, there are literally like kids running around behind them. I think this was some sort of like family thing. That's why there were people out in the field or whatever. And Justin Herbert is just like loving on his girlfriend. This is like the most normal thing I've ever seen in my life.
Consensual touching.
I can't believe this is a scandal. Like.
Yeah, just some slight consensual touching between some attractive 25-year-olds that are also $50 million people living in Los Angeles on the beach. I mean, he's just – I think there's a lot of jealousy right now.
Beer. Bro, his girlfriend is Madison Beer. Yeah, I can't believe he showed up to training camp.
It's a great take. I mean, he was like on a worldwide tour with her the entire time, not having to be the center of attention, being able just to watch his girlfriend perform and do really cool things and be super, super hot and super, super talented. And you make $50 million a year and you live on the beach and you have amazing hair. I think people are just jealous of my quarterback, Justin Herbert. That's probably what it is deep down.
I think unironically, I think you're right. Like, because I can't think of any other reason why this would be a scandal. I just don't understand. What other reason is there? Like, how is this a problem?
I like that you said unironically you think I'm right because it would be ironic that I'm right. Is that the inference that you're making?
Not about that specifically, but about the whole being jealous thing. Because a lot of people would say, "Oh, that's just like a no one's actually jealous of Herbert." Yes, they are.
Yes,
they are. They really are.
Yeah, a bunch of dudes around. It's like the same guys that hate Dave Portnoy or hate Big Cat or hate Pat McAfee. It's like, no, you're just straight up jealous of those guys.
Literally, yeah, literally. That's the, and I think it's especially true with Justin Herbert because, like you said, the guy's literally got everything going for him.
He's got it all,
his life could not be better.
It couldn't be better, and neither could our lives as fantasy football is right around the corner. Trey does do a little bit of fantasy football content. He does a lot of fantasy or just football content in general. His name is Retrospect Music on TikTok. You can find him in the chat. Trey, our question of the day on today's show is who is your fantasy football sleeper?
Okay. This is an interesting question.
I'll filibuster for a little bit, and I'll give you a second. A lot of guys across the sports media landscape right now are doing their top 5 tight ends and top 5 quarterbacks. I think you win or lose a draft in the 7th or 8th round. Every single championship team picks a dude in the 8th, 9th, or 10th round that leads their team in something. That's the sleeper territory. So for me, Trey, who is that 7th through 10th round pick that you're targeting on your fantasy team when you're drafting this year?
Well, here's the thing, right? Typically, like when you're in that kind of round, it's normally going to be like a wide receiver 2, because it's going to be hard to get like a really good starting quality receiver at that point in time. Listen, bro, Stephon Diggs.
A lot. We have Diggs on the list. A lot of people are going to be leaning towards him as the number 2 option in Washington.
Say one other name, because there's one other name that I think is a sleeper.
Kyler Murray, he's one of the quarterbacks that I'm targeting later as like a backup option that could be like a really good guy. You draft.
Listen, I'll give you a hot take on your show, okay, for you, okay? You can clip this if you want. Here's the hot take. Kyler Murray is going to finish top 10 in MVP voting this year.
I'm so sorry. Not in fantasy scoring. You said it in MVP voting?
In MVP voting. Because what's going to happen is just like that 1 year in Arizona where all he has is D-Hop and he just has one of the best seasons in the league. Instead of that, this year he's got Justin Jefferson, he's got Jordan Addison, he has TJ Hawkinson, he has a really good running backfield, some of the best coaches in football, and a good defense behind him.
I mean, you said it. It's KOC. Like, KOC turned Sam Darnold into a really viable option quarterback, right? And I think we're seeing a rehab coming from Kyler Murray. I think it's a really good take. Would you go as far as to wait until round 10 or 11 to draft Kyler and not worry about quarterbacks round 1 through 10?
Well, the thing is, I think that you could. But my thing is, like, why not just draft a quarterback early and then draft him later on? The thing is, I don't think a lot of people are going to take him. I think a lot of people are going to sleep on him because a lot of people think his career is over or something for some reason. My take is just the poor guy was trapped on the Cardinals. It is what it is, man. That's a rough situation. It's like being on the Jets. Look at Sam Darnold, poor guy, wasting away over there. Baker Mayfield.
It's true. Now he's a Super Bowl champion, and Baker is one of the better quarterbacks in football. I absolutely love it. Trey, thank you for carrying us on this show, bro. Thank you for following and calling in. God bless. We'll talk soon, bro.
Yeah, God bless. Thanks for always for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
Peace. That's my guy, Retrospect Music. If you want to follow him, like I said, he does football content. He does music content. He does some Marvel content. I saw him talking about Spider-Man No Way Home. Have I seen it yet? No. Will I see it? Probably not. I'm a big movie guy. I love films. I love cinema, but not much of a Marvel fan. Does that make me a loser? No, it makes me really, really, really cool. I went over the list of names, but I'm going to do them one more time. Mike Evans, DeJuan Stribling, Ricky Pearsall, Christian Kirk, Dre Greenlaw, Kyle Juszczyk, Nick Bosa, and 12 other players were not practicing for the San Francisco 49ers in their last practice, and that number continues to grow. There is a situation happening with San Francisco and these injuries, and we need to get to the bottom of it because there's a growing number of lunatics that believe it's because of their proximity to an electrical substation. The majority of you do not even know what an electrical substation is, and to be fair, I don't really either. So I did a little bit of research for us for us to figure out what exactly is this electronic substation that's causing all of these players to completely fall apart. A substation is a part of the electrical grid. So as you know, America runs on electricity. And this electrical grid consists of multiple components. There are places where the energy gets created and manufactured, all the way to get to the outlet that's sitting right now in your room. There are power lines across America connecting these stations to your home. But essentially what happens is every single one of these electrical generation plants passes the electricity through a substation, which is just like the substation that's next to Levi Stadium and the 49ers practice facility. What happens at the substation is the voltages coming in from the electricity generation plants are adjusted high to low or lower to higher before reaching the consumer. The electricity comes into the substation and the voltage is adjusted and then sent out to the masses. That is what's happening at this electrical substation plant. The more you know, the better. We are now all smarter. You know, Mike Trout drives one into left center field. It's going. It's gone. Home run number 19 for Mike Trout. Unbelievable. The Angels are up 1-0 over the Marlins in the top of the first. We are locked in on the MLB, of course, because this is TBWZ. We love ball. Essentially, all power from generation stations will flow into a substation, convert to the correct voltage, and then find its way into your home. On its way to powering your PS5 and charging your vape, the electromotive forces, or EMF, first attack all of the collagen in the ligaments of the adjacent NFL athletes, causing irreparable damage to their bodies, rendering them useless to participate in the most violent sport that we have. Although many scientists have visited the site and concluded that in no way would EMF from the substation cause physical damage to the players nearby, I will exercise my basic human right to say la 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 and plug my ears and not listen to any of the true scientists telling me what is right. And instead, I'm going to simply believe that the 49ers are dropping like flies because they are too close to an electrical supercell. That is what I choose to believe in. I choose right now, oh, no way. Nolan Shonowell goes deep. Not deep enough. Warning track. Nolan Shonowell hasn't had a home run in like 32 games. Gosh dang it. My Angels suck. My team sucks. So bad. Year after year after year. We have the worst record in baseball by so much. We have the reigning... Shohei Ohtani was on my team. Mike Trout in their prime. Both those guys on my team at the exact same time. We had Albert Pujols on this team. I don't want to talk about the Angels anymore. All I'm saying, by the way, go Niners. What's up, Neil? What's up, ramranch.org? Ram Ranch. 100 Naked Cowboys at Ram Ranch. All I know is what's happening with the San Francisco 49ers is no joke, no accident, okay? Yes, the substation has been there since the 80s. And yes, this injury thing started happening about 4 or 5 years ago. But I refuse to use logic and fact when thinking about this story and thinking about this 49ers team. I refuse to be rooted in true scientific evidence and instead, like many of you around the pandemic, choose to believe what I hear on podcasts. What I hear from Joe Rogan and Alex Jones. What I'm hearing right now is the reason they are getting injured at an alarming rate is because of the EMF rays coming off of this electrical substation. And gosh darn it, I don't care if it's right or wrong. I'm going to believe it. Speaking of believing in something, Enes Kanter has declared for the 2027 WNBA draft. I know what you're saying. Hey, that is a man. Is he? What makes him a man? Is it testes? Is it phallic objects? Well, I'm going to get banned on TikTok now for saying all this. Every time I start talking about poo-poos and pee-pees. Okay. Enes Kanter posted on X today that he is going to be essentially signing up and declaring himself for the 2027 NBA draft. And we'll be watching that live right now. I hope you guys can hear it. I can't feed the visual to you, but you guys can still hear the audio on TikTok.
After careful consideration and reviewing the current eligibility guidelines.
I mean, the fact that he can't even speak English is probably the funniest part of this whole entire thing.
I am officially declaring myself a WNBA prospect.
Is gender conversion? Well, okay. I'm actually going to get in trouble on TikTok if I keep talking. Let's just...
If simply declaring who you are is all that's required, then I meet every single requirement necessary to compete in the WNBA. My team and I have carefully examined the WNBA's eligibility criteria.
I mean, you can hear all the saliva in his mouth, which is absolutely disgusting.
Criteria and governing framework surrounding self-identification and inclusion. Based on the current guidelines, I can and am officially declaring my eligibility for the upcoming WNBA draft in May 2027. I am definitely not here to mock, make fun of, or disrespect.
I am definitely not here to mock
any community or personal choices. I am simply asking that the current rules be applied equally to everyone. The rules that represent the very values many WNBA players and coaches have publicly advocated for. My team and I are prepared to ensure these guidelines are applied equally, consistently, and without exception. And I look forward to the WNBA honoring its stated principles. See you at training camp.
I don't know what happened to this dude, but anyone who makes a hard pivot from sports to politics like this dude has is just a straight up weirdo. Anybody making any sort of hard pivot to anything in life is just a strange person, okay? But I am fully on board with Enes Kanter tearing it up in the WNBA. Can you imagine him boxing out Angel Reese? Come on now. Caitlin Clark trying to shoot a three over Enes Kanter? Getting the Mutombo finger wave? No way, sister. He's really not doing this to actually play in the WNBA, guys, in case you didn't know. He's doing this as some dumb political statement about gender identity, which, freedom of speech, do whatever you want, say whatever you want, make this dumb little video, put a bunch of money into the production of it. He's basically just making a play at politics here. So, as dumb as this is and as stupid as it is, I find it absolutely hilarious just to think about a true man playing in the WNBA. And if we are going to have a situation like this happen at some point in our lifetimes. I'm 30. You guys are 12. At some point in your lifetime, we are going to be getting a situation where a former male is going to declare himself female and try to play in a women's professional sports league. That is going to happen at some point in our lives, and I'm going to be absolutely here for it every step of the way. I think it's going to be absolutely hilarious to see how they handle it. But my rule is, for every man that we allow to play in a women's sports league, we need to force one woman to play in a man's league. That's just the rule. Make it even. Keep it chill. Keep it personal. Maybe it's Maybelline. Enes Kanter is a complete weirdo, freak guy, but we love seeing this kind of action from him. I know that was a little bit of a joke. It's time to get slightly more serious on today's show as we explain what's happening with Shohei Ohtani and the biggest scandal in the history of baseball. A game that has scandals like the Black Sox and guys like Pete Rose and Barry Bonds and steroids and many, many issues throughout its cherished history. This now has become the biggest blight in the history of the MLB. Trisha Thompson of ESPN has been putting on a 30 for 30 podcast series following this entire situation with Ippei Mizuhara and Shohei Ohtani. And on one of the most recent episodes, she interviewed a man named Matt Boyer. Matt Boyer was the bookie, the illegal bookmaker, involved in this whole entire situation with Shohei Ohtani and Ippei Mizuhara. Matt Boyer, a year ago, 2 years ago, was arrested on a federal indictment. Handshake emoji, bad grammar. I got to stop doing the handshake emoji thing. I think people who do verbal memes are just slightly stupider than the normal human being, but I be hitting them verbal memes hard right now. I was actually the bookie. Oh my gosh, unbelievable. Matt Boyer is here. Please call into the show. It's 213-352-5216. If you guys want to call in and talk a little bit of Shohei Ohtani, if you want to talk a little bit Dodgers baseball, if you want to talk a little bit about anything, the number is at the bottom of the screen. It is 213-352-5216. I've been locked in on this Tisha Thompson report about the Shohei Ohtani gambling scandal, and one of the most recent episodes, like I said, featured the bookie that got involved in this whole situation, that started this whole thing with Ippei and Shohei, named Matt Boyer, a Southern California guy, San Juan Capistrano type guy. You gonna pay me? I don't have any money. I have Venmo. I'll give you $5. That'd be cool. But you're going to jail very soon, so that sucks for you. Sorry about that. Sorry about your kid, too. You seemed pretty upset in the end of the episode, so hopefully your kid understands one day that you were just trying to make a buck, right? Put some money on the table, put some food on the table. But Matt Boyer was interviewed by Trisha Thompson. This was episode 5 of what is to be a 7 or 8 part docuseries or podcast series. So we don't have all the details yet from Tisha, but what we do have right now is a very, very, very weird, sticky, interesting situation with the greatest player in baseball. Maybe the greatest that we've ever seen. In episode 2, Trisha Thompson interviewed Ippei Mizuhara. This was right before the beginning of last year's MLB season, and if you remember, the Dodgers were in Japan, they were in Seoul, South Korea, playing against the Cubs in the opening series of the MLB season. Trisha interviewed Ippei Mizuhara, and there were a lot of things said in this 90-minute interview. He talked about his gambling addiction. He talked about his history with Boyer, his history with gambling, and the fact that Shohei was never involved in any of it. Shohei didn't know any of what was happening. When the federal judges came down on Matt Boyer, a document became public that there was a bank account associated and owned by Shohei Ohtani that had paid Matt Boyer over $4.5 million. That was the first initial smoking gun. Shohei Ohtani's bank account, wire transfer, illegal bookmaker Matt Boyer. That is how Shohei was initially linked up and attached to this whole story with Matt Boyer. Not better than Babe Ruth? Yeah. Will has officially entered the chat. In this 90-minute interview that she did with Ippei was basically the whole time like Shohei had no idea what was going on until Matt started reaching out and kind of threatening Ippei a little bit, saying like, hey, you owe me $4.5 million. I need my money, and I need it now. Ippei didn't have the money. So what did he do? He went to his best friend, his confidant, his brother, a man who he spends more time with than his wife, Shohei Ohtani, and said, hey, brother, I'm hurting. Hey, I need you, man. I owe a bunch of money to this guy, and I need you to help me pay it off. And Shohei, as the friend that he is, said, of course, bro. Of course I will help you out. I'm a $1 billion enterprise. I got all the money in the world. Of course I can help you out. So Shohei Ohtani began to pay off Ippei's debts directly. So that's the first red flag, okay? That's the first red flag. Let's just say, in a hypothetical universe, I owe some really sketchy people $100,000. And you are very, very rich. And you have $100,000 lying around. So I come to you and I say, hey, man, I owe this guy $100,000 or he's going to kick my dog. Can you help me out with the money? And you say yes. Now, next question. Are you going to send that money directly to this illegal, sketchy person? Or are you going to send the money to me and make me pay the sketchy person so that way your name is never connected directly to the sketchy guy? We didn't get that in this situation. What we got was Shohei's bank account directly paying Matt Boyer. I want this to be said. Tisha Thompson did this interview with Ippei, and present was a Dodgers lawyer and a Shohei Ohtani PR team type guy. So there was another person in the room with Ippei, making sure that what he said was kosher, what he said was okay, and that he wasn't lying or indicting Shohei in anything too crazy, okay? They do this whole 90-minute interview. Tisha's like, all right, we're probably going to announce and do this story later in the week after the game that you guys are playing against the Cubs in Seoul, South Korea. She's finishing and touching up the story a little bit. And then what happens? Less than 24 hours later, the Dodgers announced that Ippei Mizuhara has been fired for stealing money from Shohei Ohtani. A completely different story than what Ippei Mizuhara told Trisha Thompson less than 24 hours before. He told her that he was in gambling debt and Shohei knew about it, and he asked Shohei for help, so Shohei paid off his debts for him as a good friend would. Not even a day later, the Dodgers say, actually, Shohei had no idea what was going on. He never knew that Ippei had a gambling problem. He never knew that Ippei was gambling on games. He never knew that Ippei was in debt. He never knew who Matt Boyer was. He knew nothing about it. In fact, Ippei Mizuhara had access to Shohei Ohtani's accounts and was funneling the money from Shohei's accounts directly to Matt Boyer, essentially stealing from Shohei Ohtani. That is the story that the Dodgers have stuck with. That is the story that the feds have given us, that the judge has come to us and given Ippei Mizuhara a 4-year sentence. Of course, it's not to mention Matt Boyer is also facing a year-long sentence with this whole situation as well. Okay. So, what do we have? We have Ippei telling Trisha Thompson that Shohei knew about what was going on and paid $4.5 million to Matt Boyer to help get Ippei out of debt. And then 24 hours later, we have the Dodgers saying, actually, Shohei had no idea what was going on at all, never knew there was a problem at all, and Mizuhara was stealing the money. Something very, very different. So, as a good journalist that she is, she goes and talks to Matt Boyer directly, and that was the most recent episode that we got in this 30 for 30 podcast series on Shohei Ohtani and the gambling situation. And here's what Matt Boyer had to say. She asked him specifically about the money. Ippei said that he paid $4.5 million in gambling losses to Matt Boyer, but really, that number was that number was not actually close to the real figure. Boyer said that over the 2 years that Mizuhara, Ballesteros continues to hit for the Angels. I like this kid. Good little catcher. I like him. Matt Boyer said that in the 2 years that Mizuhara was gambling on his site, he had paid him $17 million. Over the 2 years that Mizuhara was gambling on Matt Boyer's site, Matt Boyer received $17 million from Ippei Mizuhara. But that's not all. When Matt Boyer was arrested by the feds, Mizuhara still owed him $24 million. That is $40 million. Mizuhara told Trisha Thompson, it's been $4.5 million that I paid him. I paid him $4.5 million. In actuality, that number is about 10 times less than the true figure that Ippei had owed or paid Matt Boyer. Matt Boyer even went on to say that in the 2-year span that Mizuhara was betting on his platform, that 19,000 bets were placed in that time span. 19,000 wagers placed by Ipe Mizuhara on this account with Matt Boyer. Let's just backtrack a little bit before I tell you why that number is so significant in 19K. So, this was an account on an illegal book. In California, sports betting is illegal. You can't even do it at the casinos. The Indian reservations can't do it. Sports betting is illegal in California. The reason it's illegal in California is because we're that close to Vegas. The big rigs in Vegas, the big wigs in Vegas, the big high ups, they don't want us to be able to gamble in California because on any given day in a Vegas casino, half the people in there are from California because that's our place to go and gamble. That's where we go. That's where we release. That's where we let the shoulders down a little bit. That's where we let the sun hit the body. That's where we throw some wagers around. We go to Vegas and we party and have a good time. If gambling was legal in California, we wouldn't go to Vegas, okay? So that is the main reason sports gambling will never be legalized in California specifically is because of Las Vegas. So what guys do here, and if they want to gamble, they can't just go on DraftKings. They can't just go on FanDuel. They can't just place a sports bet on DraftKings Sportsbook. What they have to do is find an illegal bookie. These guys essentially have their own websites that function exactly like you would see a regular gambling platform function. You have the overs, you have the unders, you have the this and that, and you have everything on there that you would see on a normal legal sports book, except you get a line of credit. What's up, Zach? Carson Beck looked better than I thought he would have, but Peacock didn't show his OF girlfriend. I was shocked they didn't. My man, Zachy Man Fish, is in the chat. What is up, brother? Good to see you. If you guys are in here, do not follow, please hit the follow button. And also, if you want to like up the live a little bit, it would help share the live with more people. And also, the phone lines are open. So if you want to call in to the show and talk Shohei Ohtani gambling situation, the number is 213-352-5216. You can't gamble in California, so you need to get an illegal bookmaker. That's exactly what Matt Boyer was and still is, although he's going to jail. The way they would get clients is essentially they would play golf. And you'd play as a twosome, and you'd get linked up with another twosome, and you'd be like, hey, you want to gamble on this hole? Yeah, sure. A little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit of that, a little bit of that. Hey, do you gamble on sports? I never really have. Hey, if you want to, you can gamble on my platform, and you get a line of credit. When you sign up for DraftKings or FanDuel or any of the other predatory gambling sites that are out there stealing young kids' money, and your money right now, so don't gamble, you will get a balance right away of $0.00. Once you put money into the account, let's say you deposit $100. Now you have $100 to bet with. You have $100 to spend now that you deposited because every account starts at zero. When you use an illegal bookmaker, it usually comes with a line of credit. That means if you sign up for my book called Zach's Sportsbook and you are a friend of mine, I say, hey, you have $1,000 credit on your account. All right? What does that mean? You don't owe me any money until that $1,000 is gone. Once that hits zero, then you owe me $1,000. But essentially what it is like, hey, you get free money to spend. I'm going to give you $1,000 credit to bet with. When you go up over 1,000, I'll pay you. And we'll go back to 1K. 1K is basically like zero on these books. So the reason guys are incentivized to use illegal books is because you get a line of credit. You get a line of credit, you get the ability to like lose a little bit and then win a little bit, and you don't have to spend money right away to make money. You can kind of just get some credit. It's as if you walk into a casino and when you sit down at the table, they give you $100 worth of chips right away to play with. It's essentially why you would use an illegal bookmaker. Or you live in California, a state where gambling is illegal. So Mizuhara met Matt Boyer at a poker game. An illegal poker game where David Fletcher was, by the way, as well, and other MLB players that were not named by Matt Boyer. But Mizuhara met Boyer at this thing and saw him, placing some wagers and doing some stuff. And he mentioned he has a sports book, and Ipe was like, hey, I've been looking for one. I'd love to jump on. Jumped on his sports book, and 2 years later had lost $40 million and placed 19,000 bets in a 2-year span. We're going to talk about why that number matters and in connection to the beginning part of this story. But first, we have a caller coming in. What is up, brother? You are live on TBWZ Widescreen Radio. What's your name? Where are you calling in from?
What's up, nigger?
We have the $19,000 bet placed number is significant because what we talked about earlier in the show. What we talked about earlier was the fact that Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers came to Tisha Thompson and came to the league and came to the people and said that Shohei had no idea what was happening at all with Ipe Mizuhara and the gambling situation going on. Shohei had no idea. That was the Dodgers story. He had no clue Ippei had a gambling addiction at all. He had no clue that Ippei was stealing money from his account. It's also been pretty clear that Ippei Mizuhara and Shohei Ohtani spent every single waking second with each other. In the interview with Tisha, Ippei said that they had breakfast together every single day. He would drive Shohei to the stadium. They would hit BP, and the whole time Ippei would translate for him. In the game, in the dugout, every single time they showed Shohei Ohtani, Ippei Mizuhara was sitting right next to him. These two were best friends. These two were brothers. These two did everything together. They had breakfast together. They drove together. They worked together. They had dinner together. They traveled together. Ippei and Shohei Ohtani spent at minimum 10 hours a day with each other over that 2-year span, okay? The same 2-year span that Mizuhara placed 19,000 wagers. Just to do a little bit of a quick math for you guys, that's about 24 bets placed per day. Okay, so we have 24 bets placed per day. On average, it maybe takes 2 minutes to place a wager. To actually look through the book and to find the game and to find the team that you want and to find the line and to put in the number and to press bet. It takes about 2 minutes, okay? So let's just say 24 bets a day times 2 minutes per bet. We're about 48 minutes spent on this sports book. For the sake of my argument, I'm just going to round that up to a cool 1 hour. So that's about 1 hour per day physically on the website, on the sports book, placing the bet. A guy betting millions and millions of dollars, though, is not just going to go on the app, scroll, hit that, and place it. You're going to do a little bit of research, right? You're going to see who's playing, who's in the lineup, what's the weather look like for some of you, where is the money coming in from, what did they look like last week. You're going to look at a few different things before you place a wager, right? So realistically, it might take 2 minutes to actually physically place the bet, but think of all the time that goes into actually thinking about the bet. So that 1 hour mark, I would lean towards it being a little bit closer to an hour and a half at least on your phone, doing research and placing bets. You're also going to watch the games. That is the biggest time consumer of a gambler. You don't gamble just to place the bet and then go to the Spectrum and go to the mall with your girlfriend and be like, hey, do. You go and you place a bet to watch the game. I'm sitting here watching Angels Marlins and it's so boring. But if I had $1,000 on Marlins first 5 minus 1.5, I'd be locked in out of my mind. Because that's why you bet. It's supplemental to the sports. I don't bet. I don't think you should bet. I don't believe in it, so please don't. But if you do already, good on you. Just be safe with it, okay? So when you consider the actual time placing the wager, when you consider the time actually doing the research, and then when you consider the time watching the actual game, I think it's relatively safe to assume that Ippei Mizuhara probably was spending 4, maybe 5 hours a day gambling. I mean, just one person in the chat, let me know if that number sounds too crazy. Does that number sound absolutely outlandish and stupid? 4 to 5 hours a day gambling? Clark said Ippei had so much debt, he was so bad at gambling, he was not doing research. That's true, Clark. That one might be true. But what? Between the actual looking at the phone and actual placing of it and the research, maybe the little bit that he did or the phone calls that he was taking on behalf of some people who had a little bit of a line for him and the actual watching the game, I assume it's safe to say that he spent at least 4 to 5 hours a day either watching his bets, placing his bets, or researching his bets. So you're telling me, Shohei Ohtani, you spent 2 years with this guy in which you spent probably 8 to 10 hours a day with him, eating with him, working with him, driving with him, traveling with him, sleeping with him. Every single aspect of your life was connected to Ippei Mizuhara. And you say that you had no idea what was going on? You had no idea that he had gambling debts? You had no idea at all that Ippei had a gambling problem? I feel like it's something I would notice if I spent 10 hours a day with someone and they spent 4 of it on their phone gambling, but maybe I'm smarter than Shohei. What is up, brother? You are live on TBWZ Widescreen Radio. Which name were you calling in from?
What's up, nigger?
I do not believe that Shohei Ohtani was gambling alone on this account. I don't think that this is a situation where Shohei Ohtani was just gambling away and Ipe Mizuhara became a fall guy for it. I don't believe that the situation was like, hey, Shohei Ohtani has an intense gambling addiction and Ipe does not. And he's just funneling all of this money and Shohei and Ipe is going to be the fall guy for this. I don't think that's the situation. What I do know is it's really, really, really hard for one person to bet 24 times in a single day. And Ipe was not gambling on football and baseball and basketball all the time. He was gambling on Saudi Arabian soccer. He was betting on Uzbekistan versus Portugal in an international friendly. He was betting on tennis. He was betting on ping pong. He was betting on absolutely everything that he could get his hands on. Two things here. For one person to place 24 bets a day, it's a wild figure and very, very difficult for me to wrap my head around. What makes a lot more logical sense to me is that there were multiple people on this account betting on the same account, okay? The other thing, if my best friend, the guy who I spend 12 hours a day with, is betting 24 times a day, I'm definitely going to know about it. I would know about it if my friend bet 24 times a month. I would know. Because he's my best friend. And I talk to him all the time. And I'd probably figure it out. Hey, why are you watching Saudi Arabian soccer? Oh, I like it. Nah. Shohei's smarter than that. Shohei knew what was going on. That's the bottom line of this whole entire story. The idea that Shohei was stolen from and had no idea what was going on with Ipe Mizuhara is laughably wrong. It is laughably wrong that Shohei had no idea what was going on. If he truly had no idea and no clue that Ipe Mizuhara was gambling as much as he was, then Shohei Ohtani might be the dumbest guy in the entire universe. Fast Drake said, did you hear about the Kirk Cousins brawl? I heard Kirk Cousins got mad at Max Crosby for hitting him multiple times and got up in his grill and grabbed his jersey and pulled on Max Crosby. Maybe the last guy I would ever grab his jersey would be Max Crosby. He scares me. We know people who are doing it, LOL. Yeah, PV, we do. We know a lot of people. But 24 times a day is a ridiculous figure. And if you're spending that much time with someone, you would know what was going on. So the notion that Shohei Ohtani did not know what was happening is absolutely laughable. He knew it was happening. The live got restricted to some audience. Your live contains themes that some may find uncomfortable and have been restricted. The reason is harassment and bullying. I got in trouble for harassment and bullying. My live visibility will be restricted for 10 minutes. All right. Okay. I got in trouble for harassment and bullying. What did I do? It's probably because I called Shohei something nasty. But of course. Speaking of calling people nasty, there has been some stuff going on in the world of sports journalism, something I find myself increasingly interested in. And it revolves around a story between Mike Wilbon and Stephen A. Smith. Mike Wilbon went out to say that Stephen A. Smith ain't no journalism no more. I don't know why I said it like that. He ain't no journalist no more. Michael Wilbon, a guy that's been on TV for 20 plus years, the only show that was around when I was a kid and still is Pardon the Interruption. The longest lasting show on ESPN that's not named SportsCenter. Sorry for burping. Not really. I don't care. I don't care about how you feel, about my burps, about my rips. Let's hear from Mike Wilbon himself on this situation. Like I said, if you guys want to watch the video, we are watching it on the Purple app. And if you do not want to watch it on the Purple app, then you can just listen right here live on TikTok. Why is it not loading? Here it is. Here it is.
Stephen A., I'm looking at you. Stop. You're not a journalist anymore. You're not doing what you did at the Philly Inquirer. I know what you did there because I was shoulder to shoulder with you at press row and in press boxes and practice.
If you guys can't see it on TikTok right now, Stephen A. is just giving Michael Wilbon the ultimate death stare, and I'm absolutely here for it.
Allen Iverson's practicing. Stop. Stephen A. is a show. He's a show.
Did you hear that guy just like blow his nose in the middle of this take?
He knows it. Responsibilities. What you did at the Philly Inquirer. I know what you did there because I was shoulder to shoulder with you at press row and in press boxes and practice. Allen Iverson's practicing. Stop. Stephen. There's a show. He's a show. He knows it.
Responsibilities change, but the nature of who you are isn't. I don't just come on the air and bloviate out the mouth. I make phone calls. I have resources. People educate.
I have phone calls.
Me about what's going on.
I have phone calls.
I'm just not in somebody's face immediately upon talking about them. I got to be in studio, mic'd up, etc. The Stephen A.
I'm a superstar. I'm Stephen A.
Smith Show on politics. I've had over 50 politicians on my show. Sports. When I sat down with Commissioner Goodell, was that not journalism? When I sat down with Adam Silver and Gary Bettman and Rob Manfred, was
it's not journalism because you didn't ask them anything that a journalist would actually ask them. That's where Mike Wilbon is getting at and where the rest of the world of sports fans are getting at. The ones that truly wish there was still journalism. The ones that grew up on E60. The ones that grew up with Deadspin and people doing real stories about sports and doing real sports journalism like Pablo Torre is doing with this entire Kawhi Leonard situation is because on ESPN, they're not asking hard questions. They're not doing real journalism over there. They have partnerships with the NFL. They show their games. They even are going to show their Super Bowl this year. They have partnerships with the NBA. They show a lot of their games, including their championship. They have a sponsorship. They have a partnership with the NHL. They also show the Stanley Cup and many of their regular season games. They have a partnership with the MLB where they do Sunday night baseball every night and do multiple games throughout the week. And right now, MLB TV is an ESPN app is the home of MLB TV. ESPN is in bed with all of the leagues. So when you ask, is Stephen A. doing journalism anymore? No, he's not. But nobody at ESPN is doing journalism anymore. ESPN's goal right now as a publicly traded company, a part of the Disney Corporation, is literally to make as much money as possible. Because they're a publicly traded company. The minute any company in the world becomes publicly traded, their number one priority becomes the stakeholders, the people that pay for the stocks, that stock prices. That's where the importance level is for a company like ESPN that's publicly traded. It's not about delivering you the best information. It's not about figuring out what's going on with CTE and the concussions in the NFL. It's not about figuring out what's happening with Kawhi Leonard and this whole aspiration deal. It's not about poking holes in the Shohei Ohtani thing, although ESPN is doing the story, so that's kind of a bad example. It's not about Aaron Rodgers and his immunization or his wife that he has. It's not about talking about Diana Rossini and Mike Vrabel. It's not about doing real sports stories. It's not about feeding the fans the things that you didn't know that you want to know. Adam Schefter is not a journalist. Adam Schefter doesn't break news that he wasn't given and told to break. Adam Schefter doesn't break news. Adam Schefter tells you what the agent in charge of the deal told him to tell you. He's not telling you anything new. He's waiting for the go sign. Adam Schefter is no longer a journalist. He's a mouthpiece for the NFL. Shams Charania, he hasn't said a single thing about Kawhi Leonard and aspiration. He hasn't said a single thing about Daktronics and Kawhi Leonard. He hasn't said a single thing about this scandal, right? But he's going to tell you about Jonathan Kuminga and the Hawks. Because the Hawks team was like, hey, we want this story about Jonathan Kuminga not re-signing with us because we want him to take a lesser deal, and we want to put pressure on him. So we're going to give this info to Shams and make Shams tweet about it. Journalism in sports is dying, bro. That's not something we have anymore. There's not a lot of hard-hitting guys in the newsroom breaking news and these columns coming out on profiles on athletes or scandals going on. We're not getting sports news anymore. We're getting commercials over and over and over again to do two things. Watch the game, bet on it. That is what sports media has become. Hey, here's information on a game that's going to help you bet on it. This entire summer, Like, we did multiple shows on Diana Russini and Mike Vrabel, and everyone was interested in it. It seemed like the biggest story in sports. NFL Live didn't talk about it for more than 20 seconds. Because it doesn't fit their interests. Their interests are driving you to gamble. Their interests are driving their stock price up. Their interests are making the NFL happy, and the NHL happy, and the NBA happy. And by airing their dirty laundry, that doesn't make those leagues very happy. We don't have sports journalism anymore. What a journalist is a truth teller. A journalist is someone who is a credible source that does reporting and sneaks around and grabs sources and gathers information, puts that information into a consumable piece of content, and delivers it to the people. That's what a journalist does. They discover the things that the world is hiding from the public and gives it to you in digestible content. That's not what we get anymore. Adam Schefter tweeting that Mike Evans is hurt and not participating in practice, that's not journalism. That's just sports news, right? Here's a prime example. Last week, we got word that Kyle Shanahan was in a head-on collision in a car accident 2 weeks before the story dropped. You're telling me that there was not a single reporter for ESPN or on the San Francisco 49ers beat or a single journalist in San Francisco that didn't know about this? This is one of the biggest coaches in the NFL. This is one of the premier franchises in the NFL. This is Kyle Shanahan. This is the man with the biggest tree in the NFL. He got in a car accident and we didn't know for 2 weeks? Seems really, really weird to me. That the public did not know for 2 weeks. That this was a story being hidden by the people involved. If you don't think Schefter knew about it the minute it happened, you don't know Adam Schefter. But Adam Schefter's not a journalist anymore. Because a journalist would have dropped that story right now and figured out his blood alcohol level immediately. Figured out, oh, okay, what was this, a DUI? Because we do it with Tiger. We do it with Tiger Woods right away. But when Kyle Shanahan got in an accident, we didn't know about it for 2 weeks. Sports journalism is not a thing anymore. The only person doing real sports journalism in today's age is legit Pablo freaking Torre. Pablo Torre just announced on his show, Pablo Torre Finds Out, that there's been a second Fugazi deal with Kawhi Leonard, Steve Ballmer, and the Los Angeles Clippers. For a little bit of a backstory, a little bit of history on the situation, Kawhi Leonard was a free agent following the 2019 NBA season. That was the season, of course, where he won the finals with the Raptors. He won finals MVP. He didn't play the year before because his knee was hurt. And a lot of people didn't know what we were going to get out of Kawhi Leonard, and it turns out that we got, well, the best player in the sport that year. Kawhi Leonard was coming off the best season he's ever had. He was coming off a finals MVP. He was coming off the highest point of his career and was a free agent. To say the least, Kawhi Leonard was the belle of the ball that year. Everyone wanted Kawhi Leonard. There were two teams that were in the front running to land Kawhi in 2019. And that was my Los Angeles Lakers. Shout out to the Lake Show. Luka Doncic looks good. He looks skinny. He looks healthy. Absolutely love my guy. Walker Kessler. Excited to see him. Did we replace LeBron James with a very tall white guy named Walker? Yeah, we did. Does that make me happy? No, not really. But we have Luka Doncic. So we're always going to have a chance. Enough about the Lakers, though. In 2019, Kawhi Leonard, it was pretty much decided that he was going to either go to the Lakers or remain with the Toronto Raptors. Those were kind of the two situations. At the time, Kawhi Leonard did not have an agent. Kawhi Leonard has never had representation until this year, which is very, very, very funny and coincidental. But his uncle, Dennis, was the man helping Kawhi Leonard out with all of his business situations. Uncle Dennis that offseason had meetings with the Toronto Raptors. He had meetings with the Los Angeles Lakers. And he said, here's what Kawhi wants. Kawhi Leonard wants a supermax deal. And the Lakers and the Raptors both said, done, you got it. And then he said he also wants ownership in the team. And now that's where they're like, hey, pump the brakes a little bit. So you want a supermax deal. You want to get paid the most amount of money you could possibly get paid. And you want us to give you ownership in the team in which you play for. Let me just check something real quick. Yada, yada, yada. Oh, that's illegal. Can't happen. According to the collective bargaining agreement, according to the rules in the NBA, a player is not allowed to own stake in the team that he is currently playing for. And that just makes sense to you and I, right? That's just logic. Not to Kawhi, not to Uncle Dennis. Because when the Lakers said no, can't have that happen. And when the Toronto Raptors said absolutely not, you cannot own ownership in the team. 2 days later, Kawhi Leonard signs a deal to go to the Los Angeles Clippers, a team that nobody thought Kawhi was ever going to go to. And it raised red flags right away, to the point where both the Lakers and the Toronto Raptors came to the league, came to the NBA in 2019 and said there's something fishy going on here. The league did an investigation, did a report, and found that no fugazi business had been done with Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers, and that he signed there freely on his own fruition for the deal that he got and nothing else about it. And then the story went away. Until in 2023, a company by the name of Aspiration got a federal indictment from the FBI for defrauding investors. Those investors include Steve Ballmer, the owner of the Clippers, and another man, Dennis Wong, who owns 1% of the Clippers, the only other owner of the Clippers, and also Steve Ballmer's roommate at Harvard Business School. When poking around to these numbers and these things about aspiration and this fugazi, and this fraudulent activity, they found that there was an investment, a partnership deal from Aspiration to a company called KL2 LLC. KL2. Wait, what number does Kawhi Leonard wear? Oh, there it is on the graphic. Number 2. There was a partnership deal between Aspiration and Kawhi Leonard for $45 million. Aspiration, of course, was the team that got the naming rights to the Intuit Dome. They were part of the naming rights of the Clippers. They were going to be the sponsor on the jersey. Aspiration. A tree planting company that had done multiple celebrity endorsements, including guys like Orlando Bloom, guys like Robert Downey Jr., guys like Drake, had all done endorsement deals with Aspiration. So it was not crazy that Aspiration had an endorsement deal with a celebrity. The only difference between their deal with Kawhi Leonard and those other guys is that Kawhi Leonard didn't do anything for Aspiration. He never reposted anything on his story. He never sent out a single tweet. He never appeared in a photo opportunity in a hard hat and a shovel planting a tree. Kawhi Leonard did nothing for this celebrity endorsement deal and was paid $45 million by Aspiration to essentially do nothing. So there's the big red flag. Charges have been only relevant because of Madison Beer. Hey, get that guy out of the chat right now. Somebody kick that guy from the chat. We're not being mean to Justin Herbert. We're not being mean to the Chargers. We're not being mean to anybody that I like. Okay, so just get him out of the chat. Someone ban him. JV Sports Live's in here. Just in talks between Taco Bell and Brandon Ayuk have fallen. Arby's raises as a new number 1 target. Unbelievable. Brandon Ayuk is moving fast into food. Come on now. Kawhi Leonard got paid $45 million by Aspiration to do essentially nothing. Now you're asking me, well, how does that mean that the Clippers were circumnavigating the salary cap? Steve Ballmer and Dennis Wong, his roommate in Harvard, and the only other owner of the Clippers, invested originally into Aspiration at the tune of $45 million. Kawhi Leonard got paid by Aspiration $45 million to do nothing. Now, it doesn't take the biggest genius in the world to understand that the Clippers could only pay him a maximum salary that the NBA allotted. It's called a super max deal. And you see it all the time. Guy signs for a super max. They're not using max as like maximum, cool. They're using max as like this is the most he could possibly make. There's no more that he could make. That is the biggest deal that you could sign in the NBA is a max deal. Can't make any more than that. There's a veteran minimum and there's a veteran maximum. And every single contract in the NBA falls into those two numbers between the minimum and the maximum. That's how things work. Kawhi Leonard signs for the max deal. And then also, at the exact same time, he gets a $45 million sponsorship opportunity with a company called Aspiration that Steve Ballmer is an investor in to do absolutely nothing. The inference made by Pablo Torre finds out is that Steve Ballmer was essentially using Aspiration to launder his money from his own bank account into the bank account, the LLC of KL2, which is owned and operated by Kawhi Leonard. Steve Ballmer utilized Aspiration to launder his money into Kawhi Leonard's pocket and pay him away from the salary cap, essentially circumnavigating the salary cap. That is the essence of this entire story, is that Steve Ballmer was paying extra money to Kawhi Leonard outside of the NBA salary cap in order to avoid punishment and do whatever the heck he wants because he's a billionaire. He doesn't listen to anybody. Now, what we got yesterday was that Pablo Torre and his team have discovered a second deal with Kawhi Leonard. At the time of the federal indictment from the FBI on Aspiration, Kawhi Leonard was due for a contract extension. Kawhi Leonard ends up signing this contract extension and takes $8 million less than the max deal. This is a guy that was demanding ownership in teams when he was a free agent. This is a guy that was demanding as much money as possible the first time he signed with the Clippers. And when the max wasn't enough, they had to pay him something extra on the side. Now when his contract is up and Aspiration is getting indicted, Kawhi Leonard decides to take less money than the max? That sounds a little bit fishy to me, brother. That sounds a little bit fishy to me. So what else happened in 2023? Steve Ballmer was building a stadium called the Intuit Dome. Same year that Kawhi Leonard needed a new contract extension, same year that Aspiration was going down, same year that Steve Ballmer was building a brand new stadium called the Intuit Dome. I'm going to let Pablo Torre tell you what he found out in his very own words right now. If you want to watch the clip, you can watch it on Twitch or YouTube. And if you want to just listen to it, stay parked on TikTok because you will be able to continue just to hear it. I'll send it through that way.
Is the approximately $100 million Halo board. It is the double-sided oval-shaped crown jewel of Steve Ballmer's Intuit Dome. You may now recall, how...
For those who can't see, they're showing a shot of the Jumbotron at the Intuit Dome. The Jumbotron at the Intuit Dome, built in 2023. The same year that Kawhi Leonard was up for an extension.
Daktronics' fellow Clippers partner at the time, Aspiration, they got their name out by hiring celebrity spokespeople.
Sure.
Daktronics, by contrast, does not use public-facing celebrity spokespeople or endorsers to promote the brand at all, apparently. And as one former Daktronics employee told us in a text message,
I was told since it's B2B and not a consumer product, it didn't make sense to advertise.
They're the worldwide leader, arguably, in Jumbotron manufacturing.
Daktronics is a company that's been around for 60 years, which is a pretty long time for a company to be around. It has never one time in the history of their company done a celebrity endorsement deal. 60 years goes by. It's a family-owned business. It's a mom and pop top type shop. What's up, Pelon? Uncle Dennis smoked Kawhi's dad. Just going to sit on that one for a little bit. Daktronics is the company that built the Jumbotron in every single stadium that you've ever watched a sporting event. Daktronics has never done a celebrity endorsement deal. But they did in 2023 with Kawhi Leonard. Huh. Why didn't you just get a Microsoft sponsorship? Pellon, it's because that would have been way too obvious for Steve Ballmer if he was paying him through Microsoft.
But this is where I do need you to know something else. And this is something that I initially heard on the phone from the first high-level source I've been talking to for the last 11 months.
This was talked about.
This is a contractor for the Intuit Dome, a man who was a very high-level person in the Clippers organization tasked with building the Intuit Dome.
Just openly within the organization and from people working on the project that Kawhi was a spokesperson for Daktronics. And it was just the biggest thing. It was just openly joked about within people working on the project that knew about this, as it was 1,000% a way to circumvent the salary cap.
A company that's never had a celebrity endorser decides to use Kawhi Leonard as their very first celebrity endorser. The most boring guy in the sport. For a Clippers team, that's one of the more irrelevant franchises in all of professional sports. This team has Jumbotrons in every single stadium in America. They had the pick of the litter of every team, of every player. Thank you for the follow, Pellon. Means a lot, brother. And instead of going with anyone personable, they go with Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers as their very first celebrity endorsement deal. Very, very, very fishy.
Over months of vetting the second high-level Clippers source, a former official, they also independently confirmed something else, which is that this Kawhi deal was not only talked about by fellow higher-ups at the Clippers and Daktronics as a way to circumvent the NBA salary cap.
Quote, I know Kawhi had a sponsorship with Daktronics.
There it is. A high-level Clippers official anonymously told Pablo Torre that Kawhi Leonard absolutely had a sponsorship deal with Daktronics.
Unquote.
This second source was also told that Kawhi's Daktronics sponsorship was a multi-million-dollar deal.
Huh.
As my first source separately explained on tape.
People at Daktronics, people within the Clippers organization themselves, had told me about this multi-million-dollar deal with Kawhi and Daktronics. They're not a company that you would see a celebrity endorser for, and then it wasn't coming out of their end, that the Clippers were technically kind of funding it, and that it was funneling money from the Clippers through Daktronics back to Kawhi.
You know how many teams they work with? How many stadiums? They had their pick of the litter, and they went with Kawhi Leonard, who then never does anything.
And that's the heart of this whole thing right here and why this is so wrong. The original company that Kawhi Leonard had a fugazi deal with as a circumnavigation of the salary cap thing was a company called Aspiration. You realize we wouldn't be talking about this at all if Kawhi Leonard just one time posted a picture on his story of him planting a tree. Hey, look. You're a businessman and you sign a celebrity endorser for $45 million and he doesn't do a single thing for your company. You don't announce it at all. You don't do a single press release. You don't have him in a single photo shoot. You don't have him post on a story one time or tweet anything. Daktronics then does a sponsorship deal with Kawhi Leonard and uses him as a celebrity endorser. They don't announce it once. There is no press release at all to announce that Kawhi Leonard is now partners with Daktronics. There is no post on Kawhi Leonard's story or any tweet from Kawhi's Twitter saying, hey, I am now an official sponsor and endorser for Daktronics. There's nothing like that. There's crickets. Ballmer built into a dome they can't make him sell. That's the part that we're getting to right now, Paylon. If you guys want to call into the show, the number is 213-352-5216. But the real question here, it seems pretty clear and obvious that we have smoking guns all over the place. Kawhi Leonard was given $45 million by Aspiration to do absolutely nothing. Steve Ballmer was an investor of about $45 million into Aspiration, and that money went straight to Kawhi Leonard's pockets. In 2023, up for a new contract, Kawhi Leonard signs for less than a max deal, and then it becomes a sponsor, celebrity endorser for the company Daktronics. The same company that built the $100 million halo in the Intuit Dome that was built that year. It's pretty easy for a company to be like, hey, this is going to cost $80 million, and be like, let me give you $100 million, and then you set up a deal with Kawhi Leonard for $20 million. Okay? And so now, the Daktronics is like, all right, we're kind of helping Steve Ballmer out, the biggest billionaire in the entire universe. Not a bad person to have on our Rolodex. And for Steve Ballmer, it's like, I'm paying Kawhi Leonard some extra money to play for my team, but it's off my books. It's on their books, but it's still my money. It was a partnership that was all about laundering money from Steve Ballmer's bank accounts into Kawhi Leonard's. It's the entire goal of this entire thing for Kawhi Leonard and for Steve Ballmer and for the Clippers. This is the second, potentially even third, if you watch the episode with the Rhode Island Football Club, that apparently Kawhi Leonard is an owner of, although they didn't announce anything about it. Daniel Tice is also an owner of the Rhode Island Football Club, and they made a huge press release about it, but not about Kawhi Leonard being an owner of that team. Also, when they built their stadium in 2022, Daktronics was the company they used for the Jumbotron. The owner and founder of Rhode Island FC was also seen at a Clippers game with the mayor of Rhode Island. There's a lot of fishy things going on with this story. And so when the aspiration story dropped almost a year ago now, the NBA said no comment. The NBA didn't know what to say. Adam Silver and the National Basketball Association did not have enough evidence to make a decision or to levy a punishment, if any at all, which is understandable. If you have this huge scandal that just got sat on your desk and you're Adam Silver, you're not just going to be like willy-nilly, oh yeah, all right, Kawhi's suspended for a year. You're going to really take your time with it. You got to really see the evidence before making a rash decision about what to do with Kawhi Leonard. This is almost a year ago now. Still no decision. And now every single time Pablo Torre drops an episode, more and more evidence gets stacked against them, and the NBA goes right back to the drawing board. What is up, brother? You are live on TBWZ Widescreen Radio. What's your name? Where are you calling in from?
Hey, it's Bryant from SoCal.
My guy Bryant from SoCal. It's so good to hear from you, my guy. You're calling into today's show. Currently, we're talking about Kawhi Leonard and this Fugazi operation deal. Do you know anything about the situation, Bryant?
Yeah, I was seeing it. I seen it on Twitter, seen all that stuff. I honestly think ignore all of it. Just let him go to the teams. Just let him go to the Raptors.
So you're saying no punishment for Kawhi at all, but should Steve Ballmer be punished?
Yeah, because if I was in Kawhi's shoes, would you have done the same thing to get extra money? Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
So, like, I don't think you should punish the player. I think punish the ownership.
So don't punish the player, punish the ownership. I like that idea. I think the struggle right now with Adam Silver in the NBA is how do you punish a guy that has more money than every other owner combined, right?
Yeah.
If you punish Steve Ballmer and you're like, hey, you got to sell your team or you're suspended for a year, Steve Ballmer just turns around and sues the NBA for everything they have.
Yeah, I know it's a weird situation.
So I feel like right now, if anything, Adam Silver just wants this story swept under the rug and he wants no one to worry about it.
I think if they should honestly do, I think that's the best case scenario for them because Steve Ballmer can sue the NBA for everything, literally everything.
And Brian, even furthermore, I feel like the reason that Adam Silver is so hesitant to punish is not just the fear of Steve Ballmer suing back, but this is probably not the only situation in the NBA where an owner is doing something kind of shady on the side, right?
Yeah, it can't be. There's no way.
So if Adam Silver wants to punish Steve Ballmer can easily say, all right, you think you want to punish me? Well, how about this whole thing? I think the number one domino to fall would be the Luka to Los Angeles deal. There's no way that deal is a clean deal.
Yeah. I wonder what they did. I still remember what I was doing when that trade happened. I literally woke up my whole house.
Dude, I was outside. I had two friends over, and I hadn't seen these guys in like 6 or 7 months. Oops. And we were just catching up, having a great time. And then I got the tweet, and I instantly just stopped talking to them for like 2 hours and just let them talk to each other on my patio. That was still the craziest thing that ever happened. And now the fact that Dallas has nothing to show for it outside of, I guess they got Cooper Flagg, but there's no direct correlation to that trade and Cooper Flagg.
Yeah.
Bryant, another scandal going on right now is there's been a lot of reporting around the Shohei Ohtani and sports gambling situation. Have you heard anything on that?
I have heard everything about that. I remember when it first started happening, back in, I think, was it 2025? I don't remember.
Yeah, it was right before the start of last season.
Yeah, I do remember that. I think that's what the NBA needs to do with the Steve Ballmer situation, how they just basically swept it under the rug. They blamed they blamed the other guy and then just let it be.
Yeah, blame the translator. Don't do anything to the superstar. Just blame the translator. Bryant, I absolutely love it, bro. Was there anything that you had for the people before you go?
Oh, for the people, every time I call in, I've been saying it. Just everybody get ready. I know the Rams get this, Aaron Donald that. We don't worry about them. Cowboys Super Bowl, I'm feeling it.
Oh, my gosh. I cannot wait for this season to keep going, and every time Bryant calls in, we get a go Cowboys from him. Brother, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being a fan of the show. God bless. We'll talk soon.
God bless. You have a great day.
Peace. We were kind of getting to the heart of it there with my friend Bryant and some of the other guys before, but realistically, there's not a whole lot Adam Silver can do. Because if you think this is the only scandal going on right now in the NBA, I don't think you know the NBA. Ultimately, any sort of organization that has 30 different billionaires, all with a seat at the table, 30 guys that all believe that they're better than the guy sitting next to them, 30 guys believe that they're smarter, stronger, handsomer, cooler, more powerful than the guy sitting next to them. In a league in a situation like that, it reminds me, honestly, of The Dark Knight Rises. Remember when all of the mobsters and all the bad guys and all of Gotham get around a big square table to talk about the Joker? And be like, what are we going to do about this evil guy? The double entendre there is that this is a table full of evil guys talking about what do they do about the evilest guy. And then the evilest guy walks in and is like, do you want to see a magic trick? That is the feeling right now that I have with the NBA, is you have 29 owners that are afraid of Steve Ballmer, and you have 30 guys who have dirt on every single guy sitting next to him. PV said Kawhi has been stealing money from teams for years. Seems like he sits out every playoffs. It's kind of true. It's like, yeah, it's kind of true. I think Stephen A. had a take like that. He's like, if anybody knows about stealing money, it's Kawhi Leonard. I do a half-decent Stephen A. I'm still just kind of concerned about ever doing a black man accent, but I rock it. Ebonics. I speak fluent Ebonics. What's the difference between phonics and Ebonics? Literacy. I don't think there's a whole lot Adam Silver can do about the situation, right? The thought is that you punish Steve Ballmer, but how do you punish him? Right? There's also a very, very weird thing in professional sports, since it's since technically the 30 owners in the NBA all have 1/30th of the ownership stake of the league. Adam Silver doesn't own any of the league. The league president doesn't own any part of the league. The 30 owners all own 1/30th of the NBA as a whole. In order to punish one of the owners, the owner has to agree to the punishment. And if he doesn't agree to the punishment, he can then sue. Do you think Steve Ballmer, one of the richest guys in the world, is going to agree to a punishment? So Adam Silver says, hey, you blatantly cheated. We're going to take away a first-round pick. We're going to fine you $1 million. And you're also not allowed to be a part of the team for an entire year. All right? That's a pretty lofty punishment, but not a bad punishment when you consider the charges that are being levied against Steve Ballmer. Lonnie said, I mean, he's missed most of his time with the Clippers. At least Spurs and Raptors won chips. That is true. Who gets the last laugh, brother? You think Steve Ballmer is going to accept punishment from Adam Silver? Do you think that wisp of smoke, that light bulb, that man at the end of a quest is going to walk into the Intuit Dome, knock on Steve Ballmer's door and say, hey, you're suspended for a year, and Steve Ballmer's just going to be like, all right, cool, thank you so much. Steve Ballmer's not really used to people telling him no. Steve Ballmer's been a billionaire since the 80s, dude. Steve Ballmer's been a billionaire for longer than some of your parents have even been alive. You think he's just going to accept punishment? And now, okay. Yeah. Oh, dude, I totally understand. Yeah. No, dude, totally understand. This is a guy that clearly isn't playing by the rules. This is a guy in Steve Ballmer that's not playing by the rules. He's actively breaking them. He's actively doing the best he can to cheat his way into success. You think Adam Silver walks into his office and says, hey, this is your punishment, and Steve Ballmer just says, okay, I'll listen. You're the commissioner. All right, you're in charge. No. No. Steve Ballmer is going to throw a fit if Adam Silver tries to punish him. Steve Ballmer is also going to say, hey, you want to get mad at me for this and you want to punish me for circumnavigating the cap with Kawhi Leonard. What about what they did? What about what he did? What about what this owner and that owner and them owners and all the owners did? Because Steve Ballmer's got dirt. Steve Ballmer's got lawyers. Steve Ballmer's got PIs. Steve Ballmer knows everything that's going on in that league. Steve Ballmer knows where the bodies are hidden. So Adam Silver wants to come down and punish Steve Ballmer. It's pretty easy for him to say, I got some dirt on you too, brother. The most interesting part of the story is not that a billionaire was cheating. The most interesting part of the story is not that Kawhi Leonard wanted to make as much money as possible and asked for ownership stake of the teams that he was signing with. The most interesting part of the story is not aspiration defrauding hundreds of millions of dollars worth from investors. It's not about RIFC or about Daktronics. The most interesting part of this story is the fact that there's some dude right now in New York, a Filipino man named Pablo Torre, breaking news about one of the biggest stars in the NBA and its richest owner actively cheating. And every single time he drops an episode about it, the commissioner of the NBA and every important person, a part of that NBA organization, is watching and learning at the same time that you and I are. Adam Silver has no clue what's going on. The reason there's no punishment yet is because he doesn't know what Pablo's going to say next. Nobody does. Adam Silver's just as blind as you and I are. The only guy that really knows what's going on is Pablo Torre and his homie at Hunter Brook Media. Sam. Sorry for discrediting you, Sam. And Sam at Hunter Brook Media. Those are the only two guys that have any inclination of what's going on and what's to come. Because this podcast series, this story is not over. This story doesn't end with a punishment from Adam Silver. This story ends when Pablo says, all right, that's it. I got no more information. Because 2 episodes ago when he was talking about Rhode Island Football Club, he specifically mentioned their Daktronics Jumbotron, meaning that Pablo Torre has known about Daktronics for quite some time now. He even laid in the Easter egg of the RIFC stuff way, way, way long ago in this series. The craziest part of this entire Kawhi Leonard situation is not the fact that the biggest superstar in the world, and the craziest part about this Kawhi Leonard situation is not the fact that one of the biggest stars in the sport and the richest owner of the sport were cheating and circumnavigating the salary cap. The craziest part is that you and I and Adam Silver are all finding out about it at the exact same time. Because the only guy that truly knows what's happening is Pablo Torre. That is sports journalism. That is what we can learn from people who go out and discover things, from people that dig around in the shadows, the people that play in the mud. There's only one guy doing true sports journalism right now, and that's Pablo Torre. Most of the guys are doing things like I'm about to do, which is like, hey, who should be starting for the Minnesota Vikings? You know, should it be Kyler Murray or J.J. McCarthy? Something like that. Come on now. Most of the other guys are out here playing a game of who starts. But they don't have music like I do.
Who will be starting?
What is up, brother? You are live on TBWZ Widescreen Radio. What's your name? Where are you calling in from?
Bryson.
Oh. That was Bryson. My bad. I hung up on you, brother. You could call back in whenever you want. Actually, I'll call him. Bryson, you're live on TBWZ. My bad, brother. I accidentally hung up on you. You're calling in on today's show. How are you, my friend?
I'm all right.
He's once again trapped in a well. He's in a hole again. Bryson, why just all right, bro?
Yeah.
Yeah, good answer. Bryson, when does school start for you, bro?
My school started back today. It's my senior year of high school, finally.
Bro, school has already begun. You are BMOC. You are big man on campus. Big time senior year. Best year of high school by far. You are the top dog there, and it's a lot of fun, dude. Are you excited for the school year?
Oh, absolutely. I'm ready to get school over with. I'm ready to get started with college.
Yeah, do you know where you want to go to college, or do you know at all where you want to what you want to study?
Well, you know what? This is kind of like me, choosing my college for baseball, because I do have an offer from the University of Texas Christian University.
TCU, congrats, brother.
So I'm probably gonna go there, or I'm just gonna save up some money and get into Vanderbilt because my GPA is 3.7. So.
Well, you got a great opportunity at TCU. That's a fantastic school. You have a whole nother season, too, to get some more offers and stuff like that. How soon do you need to let TCU know that you're going to play there?
I have April, so April of next year.
You have until April 2026. So the odds are, like, through your season and through some summer showcases that you might be able to do and some fall showcases, you might have some more offers rolling in than just TCU, right?
Yeah, I have. I already have Austin P looking at me. Because I'm from Tennessee, I have Austin P.
Yeah.
I have Memphis looking at me. I have a lot of coming out, but I gotta stay focused on baseball.
I absolutely love that, bro. Yeah, keep your head on straight. Don't do anything too nasty and gross, and just lock in on getting ready for baseball season, bro. But I'm excited about it. Anything in the MLB that's tickling your fancy right now? The Cubs are playing some good ball.
Mets fan. Minnesota not, because way too late, but that's finally getting hard. And I know I'm a Mets fan talking about the Braves, but Ronald Acuna has been on fire lately.
The Braves are looking really good. They're not named the Brewers. They're the best team in the National League, basically, right behind the Dodgers and the Brewers and the Cubs. The National League is absolutely stacked.
Yeah.
What?
They're stacked. I still think the Braves know that.
Yeah, Bryson, you're breaking up pretty bad, brother, which is tough. But yesterday on Wednesday's show, what's up, Blake? On Wednesday's show, the question of the day was, what pro franchise do you think will never win a championship in your lifetime? And I hate to do this to you, but for me, it was the Memphis Grizzlies. I just cannot imagine a world where the Memphis Grizzlies ever lift the Larry O.B.
I can see that. I just didn't want to go basketball route. I went hockey route and went Nashville Predators. A native-based team. I didn't want to do my exact city, so I just went on and picked on the little baby of Tennessee and picked Nashville.
Yeah, the baby brother Nashville to Memphis. The adopted brother, if you will, to Memphis, because Memphis is very, very different color-wise than Nashville.
Yeah.
Today's question today is a more interesting one. It is, do you have a fantasy football sleeper pick? We've been talking a lot about fantasy football and getting geared up towards that. Next week is going to be fantasy week, so we're going to be doing a lot of fantasy football type content. But I was wondering from the people, is there some guy that you're targeting in your drafts later in the 8, 9, 10th round that is a sleeper for you?
Well, honestly, since I've already had my draft, I think either Tyler Show is going to be really good this year, or Bucky Irving if he's healthy.
Bucky Irving is a fun one. I like that Saints offense. I think we're going to have some fun there. Jordan Tyson is the guy off that Saints offense that I'd be taking if you need a skills guy. But Bryson, unbelievable stuff, brother. Thanks for calling in, dog. We'll talk soon. God bless.
All right. God bless.
All right, fellas, on TikTok, thanks for watching. That is the show. We're going to just go live on Twitch for the remainder of the show and hang out with those people over there. So if you want to keep watching TBWZ widescreen radio, you can watch over there. We're live Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific time. That is 6 to 9 Eastern. So follow the show if you want to get notified when I go live. And we'll be going live on Monday at 3 p.m. And if you want to keep watching the show for a little bit longer, we're live on Twitch and YouTube.com. Love you guys so much. I'll see you later, TikTok people. Bye-bye. 884 views. We got 32 viewers who commented. One person shared the live. We got 2 new followers. I made 1 cent on that 2-hour stream. I made 1 cent on that 2-hour stream. I made 1 penny on that 2-hour stream where I talked for the entire 2 hours. I got 4 phone calls. I got 5 phone calls in the entire 2 hours that I was live on TikTok. 2 of them were guys just calling in and saying the N-word. First thing they said was the N-word and nothing else, and a quick hang up. And then the 3 other calls were guys wanting to talk about nothing that I was talking about on the screen. So, happy dandy doodah. The fact that I'm sitting here doing a 2-hour show for TikTok and getting paid 1 cent is the coolest thing in the entire universe. Because one day when we're getting paid $1 million to do a 2-hour show, we are going to be remember when we only got 1 penny? Now we're getting $1 million a show. Getting $1 million per show would be so awesome. I would spend it so quick. I would spend it on terrible things. I'd spend it on trampolines and bounce houses and baseball teams. I would 1,000,000%. The first thing I do would be make a movie. First thing I do would be make a movie. I was going to say buy a sports team, but I would make a movie 100%. If I made $1 million, if someone's like, hey, here's $1 million for what you did, great job, I would put 600,000 of it into a savings account, and then I would put 300,000 of it into a home, and then I would put $100,000 of it into making a movie, and I would make a movie for $100K. That's what I would do with my money. If I gave you $1 million, what would you spend your money on? The fact that I put 600 in a savings account is so boring too. I probably wouldn't. It'd be close to like $100K in a bank account and like 900,000 on a movie. Dude, I don't know if you guys know anything about me. I would make such a good movie for $900K. Oh my gosh. A thrilling good time. I would make an unbelievable film for $900,000. So if you or anybody you know has $900 sitting around burning a hole in their pocket, let Vini know. Let ViniMakeAMovie.com. Put Vini in the movies. I gotta put me in the movies. They're gonna make a big star out of me. They'll make a film about a man who's lost and lonely, and all I gotta do is act naturally. Well, I bet you are gonna be a big... All right, I want to sing that song for you guys. Can't win it all, so you can never see. Hopefully I'm in tune. They're gonna put me in the movies. They're gonna make a big star out of me. They'll make a film about a man that's sad and lonely, and all I gotta do is act naturally. Well, I bet you I'm gonna be a big star. Might win an Oscar, you can't ever tell. The movie's gonna make me a big star, 'cause I can play the part so well. Well, I hope you come and see me in the movies. Then I know that you will plainly see ever hit the big time. And all I gotta do is act naturally. All right, boys, what a show. What a fun time. I really think I killed it on today's show. I think I absolutely crushed it. I talked for 2.5 straight hours. I had a bunch of different topics. I had a bunch of different graphics that I was clicking around through. I'm really, really proud of myself. And I didn't get too frustrated at all. So, like I said, I bumped around through a bunch of different topics. I had a very a loaded sheet. Today's best of clips hopefully will get posted tomorrow, and I'll put a best of out on YouTube. So if you didn't watch today's show, you can kind of get a gist of it from what you see on YouTube. But yeah, man, I'm proud of myself for what I did today. I think it was a great show, and if you guys were a part of it, I appreciate you. And if you were not a part of it, it's totally okay. Monday we're gonna be live again, talking a lot of ball, taking calls, hanging out, having a good time. But fellas, this is the part where the show ends. I appreciate you guys jumping in this entire week. It's been a tough couple of weeks for me personally, but we continue to battle and we continue to get through it and we continue to push forward. I love this show, man. I love this show. I love you guys. I've given up a lot to make this thing happen, and it's like I've invested so much. Why not just keep going? I'll let you guys know if anything pops up from some of the marketing outreach that we've done, and just keep praying for me, please, just for strength and understanding and wisdom. I love you guys so much. I will see you again on Monday when we talk some more ball, take some more calls. Love you guys. Vini, outie. God bless, boys.